From now on, we'll handle the house ourselves. You should find somewhere else to live, my brother and his wife declared. It seemed like my mother was siding with them, treating me as though I were in the way. Did they not realize who had been covering the household expenses all this time? I was taken aback by their disrespect. A resolve began to form in my mind about what actions I would take next. I'm Carrie, a 30-year-old woman who's recently moved back into her parents' home. After graduating from college, I ventured into the workforce, only to find it far more challenging than I had anticipated, leaving me emotionally drained. This led me to return to my parents' house. Initially, I relied on unemployment benefits while searching for new job opportunities. Eventually, I discovered remote work and began working independently from home. With my university degree in a scientific field, I was able to leverage my skills as a freelance engineer. I began by taking on small projects. While the initial income was modest, working from home proved to be a valuable experience. Unlike traditional office jobs, I could earn a decent living with minimal social interaction, and I gradually built confidence in managing my own schedule. Over time, my work volume increased, and I began to take on larger projects, which led to a rise in my earnings. Within a year, my income matched that of a typical company employee. However, my parents, especially my mother, struggled to understand my work-from-home setup. My father was supportive once I explained everything in detail, but my mother, with her more traditional views, was wary of what she didn't understand. Despite my efforts to reassure her about my commitment to my job, she frequently questioned my decision. "How long are you planning to stay home?" she would ask. "At first, I thought it was for your mental health, but it's been over 2 years now. Maybe you should consider working outside more." I made every effort to explain my situation to my mother with complete sincerity, but she remained unconvinced. "You're just doing something online," she would say, often expressing suspicion. How could I make her see the reality of my work? Despite my detailed explanations, she remained doubtful. I showed her client emails and salary statements, but nothing seemed to change her mind. My mother even questioned whether I was involved in some dubious business or unusual religion. I reassured her that my job was legitimate and that I received regular payments. Yet her skepticism persisted. "Isn't there a chance this is just unemployment benefits? And those can't last forever," she would argue. Her worries seemed endless. I had considered moving out on my own, but I hadn't saved enough yet. Around that time, my father's health began to decline, and he required nursing care. Having retired early, he faced a sudden drop in income. "Dad, are you okay?" I asked with concern. "Oh, Carrie, I'm sorry to worry you. I have my pension, so I'll manage," he replied, though I could sense his apprehension. Given how much my mother spends, I wondered if he could really manage on his own. It seemed we'd have to rely on our savings for now. My father looked exhausted, likely anxious about the future. I had relied on his financial support throughout college and even after returning home due to mental health issues. Leaving him alone to live independently didn't feel right. My mother was also perplexed by his sudden condition. I decided to stay home and support them as much as I could. "Don't worry, Dad. I'll take care of things from now on," I assured him. "Really?" he responded, surprised. "I didn't think you had that much income." "Don't worry, Dad. My income is quite stable now," I said, showing him my bank account details. Knowing my father had always understood my situation, I hoped he would be reassured. "Carrie, I didn't realize you were so financially stable," he said. "Yeah, I've been earning more recently." "Then could you help us a bit?" he asked. "Of course. You've done so much for us. I'll support you from now on," I promised. "Thank you, Carrie," he said, visibly relieved. I began covering the household expenses, my father's medical bills, and numerous other costs. Each month, I transferred a set amount to my father's bank account to help manage the household finances. Since my mother had been using my father's credit card, I set up a new main card and gave her a supplementary card. My father saved as much as he could and encouraged my mother to do the same. When he suggested we needed to cut back, my mother protested. "So, what? Should we kick Carrie out? She's helping us financially. It would be much harder without her." Despite my mother's skepticism and suspicion about my support, my father eventually convinced her to let me stay. I continued to work while assisting at home. However, my mother took my help for granted and became very demanding. "Can't you finish your chores faster?" she would snap. "Sorry, but it's challenging since I'm working at the same time," I would respond. "You keep saying that, but is it really so hard?" she would question. My mother didn't seem to understand or listen to my explanations. I began to feel that our relationship was becoming irreparably strained. Thankfully, my father recognized and appreciated my efforts, which provided some comfort. We managed this arrangement for a year, but then my father suddenly fell ill and required daily hospitalizations. I visited my father in the hospital and greeted him with a warm smile. "Hey, Dad, how are you feeling today?" "Thank you for coming, Carrie. It doesn't look like things are going to improve soon, but I hope it's not too much of a burden for you," he replied. "Don't worry about that," I said reassuringly. "Taking care of you isn't a burden at all, but I can see that things between you and Mom have been strained. Since my father's hospitalization, my relationship with my mother had worsened. Living with her had become increasingly stifling, but I remained committed to supporting both my parents as a family. I appreciated all the effort my mother had put into making my lunches and dinners when I was growing up. Despite the current challenges, I still wanted to honor that. Then something happened that changed my perspective entirely. My mother addressed my brother Kevin, who had just arrived. "I've been waiting for you. You're late," she said sharply. "Sorry, Mom. I've been really busy," Kevin replied. "Hi, mother-in-law," Mary greeted. "Hello, Mary. Thank you for coming," I replied, still in shock. I approached my brother Kevin and his wife Mary, who both gave me a frosty look. Then, out of the blue, my brother said, "We're going to be living here too from now on." "Wait, what? Why?" I asked, taken aback. Mom was concerned. She thought it might be too difficult for you to manage the house on your own while Dad's in the hospital, he explained. I turned to my mother, hoping for some clarification, but she simply looked away. "I see," I said, trying to process the situation. My brother continued, "We hope this will help ease Mom's worries. We'll support you, Carrie." Mary, with a hint of a smirk, added, "I had a feeling there was more to this decision than just helping Mom." My mother said, "Thank you both for coming. Carrie, I hope you're prepared to contribute a bit around the house. Otherwise, it might be difficult for you to stay here." Although I hadn't expected my brother and his wife to move in, I knew that my brother, who graduated from a prestigious college and worked at a reputable company, must be earning a good salary. Still, I was putting in my own effort and wondered if they could manage without my support. Life with my brother and his wife proved to be more challenging than I had anticipated. "Perry, are you still asleep? Get up and make breakfast," my brother's wife shouted, banging on my door. "I'm already up. I start working early," I replied. As a morning person, this was my most productive time of day, and I preferred to work undisturbed. "Really? Then get moving and prepare breakfast," she insisted. "Do I really have to make everything myself?" I asked, feeling frustrated. Our family usually had a relaxed morning routine, eating whatever we wanted whenever we wanted. My mother and my brother's wife were both home, so I assumed it would be normal for my sister-in-law to prepare breakfast for my brother. "We're living together now, so we need to cooperate," my sister-in-law replied. Reluctantly, I helped prepare breakfast, but it seemed like my efforts weren't enough. "Is this all you've prepared for breakfast? It's not sufficient," they criticized. I had made a breakfast spread of soft scrambled eggs, a crisp lettuce salad, fresh buttered toast, and juicy sausage. I thought it was a decent meal, but clearly I missed the mark. "Well, if it's not to your liking, you don't have to eat it," I retorted. The three of them looked taken aback. "What's with that attitude? Who do you think you are? This isn't acceptable. You need to pitch in with the housework," they scolded. "But I have work to do too," I protested. "Oh, work? Really? What kind of work is that? Are you serious?" My brother and his wife shot back, their disbelief evident. My brother, in particular, seemed to constantly belittle me, likely influenced by my mother. He mocked my concerns. This was consuming a significant portion of my work time. I grabbed my laptop, shoved it into my bag, and left the house. "Wait, where are you going?" my brother called after me. Ignoring him, I headed straight to my father's hospital room. When I burst in, he looked up at me surprised. "Carrie, what's the matter? You seem flustered," he asked. I quickly explained the situation to my father. His expression turned to one of shock as he listened. "I had no idea they were treating you like this." "I'm so sorry, Carrie," he said. "Don't worry about it. You should follow your own path. I'm sure your mother would feel more comfortable if Kevin were around. You don't need to stay in a place where you're not happy. All I want is for you to be content, so live your life as you see fit." "Thank you, Father," I replied, feeling reassured. Encouraged by my father's words, I decided to move out. When I returned home that evening, I was met with a tense atmosphere. My mother, brother, and sister-in-law looked at me with stern faces. "Where have you been?" my brother demanded. "Kevin, weren't you supposed to be at work?" I asked. "Because of you, I had to take the day off," he retorted. "Taking a day off for that reason seems excessive," my sister-in-law added. Inside, I was taken aback by how easily my brother took a day off work. It seemed incredibly irresponsible to me. As the evening went on, the tone of my brother and his wife grew increasingly harsh. "Just leave," my brother said abruptly. "Why?" I asked, startled by his sudden hostility. "What's going on?" "From now on, the three of us will be living together," my brother continued. "If you don't want to stay, then you should go. We don't need someone like you, who only adds to the tension, to be a part of this." My brother and his wife made it clear they wanted me out. "Carrie, this is enough," my brother said firmly. "Now that your father isn't here, you don't need to stay." For some reason, my mother, like my brother and his wife, began to view me as a hindrance. Did she not realize how much I contributed to the family's finances? She regularly indulged in branded goods, but how would she cope if her spending money was cut back? I was infuriated. No matter how many times I tried to explain my role, my mother, brother, and sister-in-law ignored me. Their rudeness was too much to bear, so I decided to take a drastic step. I first transferred the funds from the bank account linked to my mother's credit card into an account that I controlled. I wanted to see her reaction when she found she couldn't use her card. Additionally, I moved some money from my father's account, which was meant to cover family expenses, to the same account. Only my father's medical expenses could still be paid from his separate account, which my mother was unaware of. As a result, a significant portion of the family's financial responsibility shifted to my brother and his wife. Although I didn't know the details of my brother's income, I was certain he would feel the impact more than ever. After completing all the necessary arrangements, I packed up my belongings and announced, "I'm leaving this place." My mother, brother, and sister-in-law were visibly shocked by my words. They had harassed me relentlessly but hadn't expected me to actually take action. Their surprised expressions were almost satisfying. "Finally leaving, are you? I've never met someone so troublesome. You won't be coming back, will you?" my brother said, his tone dripping with disdain. Their constant belittling was astonishing. "Of course not. Don't bother contacting me," I replied firmly. As I left, they gave me condescending smiles, but I couldn't help wondering how they'd feel once I was gone. I smiled inwardly as I began my new chapter. My new home was tranquil, and I could enjoy my own space. I felt completely rejuvenated and found myself able to focus on my work like never before. One day, just as I expected, I received a call from my brother. "I told you not to contact me," I answered. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice edged with urgency. "I heard you were responsible for handling all the money transactions at the family home. Is that true?" His surprise was evident. "Yes, that's correct," I confirmed. "Why are you asking now? Why did you tell me about this? We had no clue." I did mention several times that I was working, but neither you nor Mom seemed to believe me. "Well, Mom said a lot of things and I was confused, so it's not entirely my fault, right?" "No, it's not, but I'm facing a financial problem. Mom's been spending excessively, and on top of that, we haven't been able to cover the house utilities and other expenses. I was able to manage everything because I was supporting you in many ways. Now that I'm not living there, you need to handle it. Carrie, I really need your help to transfer some money to my account." "What? Please, can you transfer some funds right away?" "You've got to be kidding. You work for a big company, don't you?" "Actually, I was let go from that job." "What? Why?" "I made a big mistake," my brother admitted. "Was that before you moved back into our parents' house?" I asked. His response left me momentarily speechless. I suspected my brother had returned to our parents' house under the assumption that there was ample money available. He likely thought the household would be supported comfortably by my father's pension after his retirement. It was tempting to tell him that I had been managing the family finances, even though it appeared I was doing nothing. I could almost picture his surprise upon realizing that I had been keeping the household finances afloat while he had assumed everything was stable. The same went for my brother's wife and my mother. "We need your help," my brother's wife said urgently. "Our savings are nearly depleted." My mother said, Your father is really upset about this. He says he won't contribute any more money to the household. We're in a terrible situation. You know what? I've done enough. You're all healthy, so you should work hard and support yourselves. I'll be cheering you on from afar. I heard a panicked voice on the other end of the line. Think about your actions. I'm hanging up now, so don't call me again. But Carrie, wait. I then distanced myself from my brother, his wife, and my mother. My father also decided he could no longer continue living with my mother and sought legal advice. He moved to a different hospital and settled quietly in a new location. Fortunately, I was able to visit him every day. A friend updated me on my brother's recent situation. He had moved into a small apartment and seemed to be living on a tight budget. My mother, who had been a homemaker for years, was struggling with the demands of her new job. My brother, accustomed to his position as a college graduate, found it hard to take advice from younger colleagues, and his part-time job didn't last long. Among them, my brother's wife was the only one who worked diligently to support the family, but the pressure eventually proved too much for her, and she left. Now, my brother and mother are trying to manage together. Unfortunately, my mother's habit of overspending hasn't changed, and her debts are continuing to pile up. While I'm concerned about her, I can no longer assist her. I'm focused on thriving in my own comfortable living space, steadily increasing my income, and considering new ventures. I'm also making it a priority to visit my father daily and cherish our time together, hoping to see his cheerful smile more often.
The silk dress feels like a straitjacket against my skin. Mother stands behind me, her fingers working methodically to fasten each delicate button running down my spine. In the mirror, I watch her face, serene, focused, completely oblivious to my silent rebellion tucked away in my closet. There. She steps back, admiring her handiwork. You look exactly like your sister now. I'm Clara, and that's precisely the problem. The pale blue designer dress she's chosen matches Emma's perfectly. Another set of identical outfits for the identical Thompson twins. At 28, you'd think we'd have outgrown this particular form of torture. I need to finish getting ready, I say, keeping my voice neutral. Wouldn't want to be late for Father's big night. Mother's lips curve into a practiced smile. Such a thoughtful daughter. The governor himself will be at the gala. Your father's research grant announcement is quite the achievement. The moment she leaves, I lock my bedroom door and retrieve the garment bag hidden behind my photography equipment. Inside is my real outfit for tonight, a vintage black jumpsuit with a plunging neckline that would give Mother heart palpitations. I've been planning this for weeks. My phone buzzes. Emma, don't do anything stupid tonight. I delete the message without responding. Of course she knows. Emma always knows. Just like she knew about Dylan before I told anyone. Just like she probably knows about the photos I found in Father's study last week. The jumpsuit slides on like armor. I apply dark lipstick, smoky eyes, everything Mother specifically warned against. The woman in the mirror looks dangerous, alive, nothing like the demure daughter in family portraits. Downstairs, voices echo through the mansion, early arrivals for the pre-gala gathering. I check my phone again, 7:15 p.m., right on schedule. I take a deep breath and open my bedroom door. The hallway stretches before me like a runway, family photos watching from their perfect frames. Mother's voice carries up the stairs, that special tone reserved for impressing guests. Clara, everyone's waiting, darling. I descend the stairs slowly, savoring each sharp intake of breath as people notice me. Conversation dies. Mother's face goes slack with horror. Emma, pristine in her pale blue dress, watches me with a mixture of pity and resignation. Father emerges from his study, already frowning. Clara, what is the meaning of this? Just expressing myself, I say sweetly. Isn't that what you always encouraged, Father, being true to ourselves? His jaw tightens. Several guests suddenly become very interested in their drinks. Mother steps forward, voice low and dangerous. Go change. Immediately. No. The word hangs in the air like a gunshot. Emma winces. I said, go change. Mother's fingers dig into my arm. I pull away. Touch me again, and I'll tell everyone exactly why Rachel Bennett resigned from the hospital board last month. Father goes very still. Emma's eyes widen. She didn't know about that one. You wouldn't dare, Mother hisses. Try me. I move past her toward the drink table, aware of every eye in the room following me. This is just the beginning. The whispers start immediately. I pour myself a generous glass of champagne, noting how the other guests subtly edge away from me. Perfect. Let them talk. Let them wonder what other secrets this family is hiding. Father disappears back into his study. Mother makes a show of laughing it off to their friends, but her hands shake as she straightens her pearl necklace. Emma just stares at me, something like fear flickering across her face. I raise my glass in her direction. To family, I mouth silently. This is how it starts. Not with a bang, but with a carefully chosen outfit and 20 years of resentment finally boiling over. By the time I'm done, the perfect Thompson family facade will be nothing but ashes, and I'm going to enjoy every moment of watching it burn. 3 days after the gala disaster, Emma corners me in my darkroom. The red safety light casts shadows across her face as she watches me develop prints from Father's event, particularly the ones capturing Mother's mortification and his barely contained rage. "You're playing with fire," she says, picking up a still wet photo. "Rachel Bennett called the house this morning." My hands stay steady as I work, but my pulse quickens. "Did she? How fascinating." "Stop it, Clara. Whatever game you're playing, you need to end it now." I hang another print, this one showing Father deep in conversation with Rachel at the gala. "You always were terrible at games, Emma. Remember when I used to let you win at chess?" "This isn't chess." She steps closer, lowering her voice. "I know about the hospital records you accessed using my login credentials." The chemical-laden air suddenly feels thicker. I turn to face my mirror image, searching for any trace of the sister I used to confide in. "Interesting accusation. Did Mother put you up to this little intervention?" "I'm trying to protect you." "Like you protected Father when you caught him with Rachel last year?" Emma's face drains of color. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I snatch the photo from her hands. The golden child, always covering for Daddy's indiscretions. Tell me, does it ever get exhausting being so perfect? At least I'm not deliberately trying to destroy our family. A knock at the door interrupts us. Dylan peers in, his camera bag slung over one shoulder. "Bad time?" Emma's expression shifts instantly, picture-perfect smile in place. "Dylan, how lovely to see you. I was just leaving." She pauses at the door. "Think about what I said, Clara, please." Once she's gone, Dylan wraps his arms around me from behind. "Everything okay?" "Perfect." I lean into him, breathing in his familiar scent of leather and darkroom chemicals. "How was the gallery meeting?" "Actually, that's why I'm here." He spins me around, eyes bright with excitement. "They want to feature your work, the series about family dynamics you've been shooting? They're calling it revolutionary." My heart races. "When?" "Next month. Opening night coincides with your father's charity fundraiser." I pull back slightly, studying his face. "You knew about the timing?" Dylan shrugs. "Happy accident? Unless you want to use it?" The possibilities unfold in my mind like negatives developing in solution. Father's biggest donors will be at that fundraiser, the same people who worship the ground he walks on. And if they happen to see a different side of the Thompson family legacy, Dylan trails off, letting me connect the dots. I walk to my work table, spreading out the photos I've been collecting. Father with Rachel, Mother's carefully constructed masks, Emma's complicity, my own calculated rebellion. "They're not just family photos anymore," I murmur. "They're evidence." Dylan picks up one of the prints, a particularly damning shot of Father leaving Rachel's house at dawn. "Are you sure you want to go this far?" "Why shouldn't I? They've spent years crafting the perfect public image. Maybe it's time people saw the truth." He sets down his camera bag, pulling out his laptop. "Then let's make it count. I've been working on a concept for the installation. Multiple perspectives like fragments of a broken mirror." As he shows me his ideas, I feel something shift inside me. This isn't just about rebellion anymore. It's about exposure, justice, the truth I've been suffocating under for years. My phone buzzes, another text from Emma. "Mother's planning a family dinner tomorrow. Damage control. Don't make things worse." I show Dylan the message. He raises an eyebrow. "Going?" "Of course." I start gathering the photos, mind already racing ahead. Every family dinner is just another opportunity to document our perfect dysfunction. "Clara," Dylan catches my hand, "just be careful. Once you start down this path." I know exactly what I'm doing. I cut him off with a kiss, tasting the lie on my own lips. "Trust me." As he leaves, I return to my dark room. In the red light, I study the latest print of Emma. The moment she realized I knew her secrets too. My twin, my opposite, my unwitting accomplice in what's to come. Tomorrow's dinner will be just the beginning. Let them think they can control the narrative. I've got other plans developing. The family dinner feels like a minefield. Mother's crystal glasses catch the chandelier light as father drones on about his latest surgical breakthrough. I'm barely listening, focused instead on the manila envelope hidden in my bag beneath the table. Clara's photography exhibition opens next month, Emma announces, her voice honey-sweet with hidden barbs. The same night as your fundraiser, Father. The surgical story stops mid-sentence. Father's fork pauses halfway to his mouth. I wasn't aware you were still pursuing that hobby. It's not a hobby. I take a slow sip of wine. The gallery thinks my work captures something raw about family dynamics, particularly in medical dynasties. Mother's hand tightens around her water glass. Surely you can reschedule. Actually, several hospital board members have already RSVP'd to my opening. I watch Father's face carefully. Rachel Bennett included. The crystal in Mother's hand cracks. A thin line appears, spreading like a spider web. Mark, perhaps you should speak with Rachel about maintaining appropriate boundaries. Laura, Father warns, but I'm already reaching into my bag. Speaking of boundaries, I slide the envelope onto the table. I found these while organizing my darkroom files. Emma goes very still. She knows what's coming. She's seen the hospital records I accessed through her login. Father reaches for the envelope, but I pull it back. Careful, these might upset Mother's digestion, though probably not as much as finding out about the malpractice settlements you've been hiding. That's enough. His voice carries that familiar surgical precision, the tone that used to make me flinch, not anymore. 3 patients, Father, 3 families paid to keep quiet about your mistakes. And Rachel helped cover it up, didn't she? Right before her convenient resignation? Mother stands abruptly, her chair scraping against hardwood. Emma, help me clear the plates. Stay, Emma. My voice cuts through the tension. You knew too, didn't you? Found out last year when you walked in on Father and Rachel discussing the latest payoff? Emma's face crumples. Clara, please, tell them what you told me that day, about how protecting the family name matters more than the truth. Father slams his hand on the table. Wine glasses rattle. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? I pull out one photo, slide it across the mahogany surface. It shows him leaving Rachel's house at dawn, his tie askew. Funny how often medical consultations happen at sunrise. Mother snatches up the photo, tears it in half. You ungrateful... Ungrateful? I laugh, the sound sharp as broken glass. For what? The privilege of watching you sweep everything under your Persian rugs? The honor of pretending we're perfect while Father plays God with people's lives? Your father saves lives, Mother hisses. Everything he does, everything we do, is to maintain the reputation that allows him to help people. Help people like Jessica Martinez? The name drops like a bomb. Father goes white. 28 years old, dead on your operating table because you were distracted by personal matters. Rachel helped backdate the consent forms, didn't she? Emma reaches for my hand. Stop this, you're hurting everyone. I pull away from her touch. That's rich coming from you. Tell me, how does it feel being the family's favorite conscience? Enough! Father stands, his authority filling the room. Clara, if you continue down this path... You'll what? Cut me off? Pretend I don't exist? That would require acknowledging my existence in the first place. I stand, gathering my things. The envelope stays on the table, a paper grenade waiting to explode. The exhibition opens at 8 next month, same time as your fundraiser. I look each of them in the eye. Choose wisely which truth you want the world to see. As I reach the door, Emma calls out, Clara, wait! I turn back one last time. Mother clutches the torn photograph, Father grips the envelope, and Emma stands frozen between them, our family tableau in perfect dysfunction. You know what's funny? My voice sounds distant, even to myself. I actually thought finding proof would hurt more, but now I just feel free. The door closes behind me with a soft click. Through the stained glass, I watch their shadows move like actors in a tragedy. My phone buzzes, Dylan asking how it went. I don't respond. Instead, I take out my camera and capture one final shot through the window. 3 figures in a gilded cage, their perfect world beginning to crack. The truth, it turns out, makes an excellent revenge. Professor Simmons studies the gallery layout sketches spread across his desk, his expression unreadable. These images tell quite a story, Clara, though perhaps not the one you think. I've spent the morning showing him my exhibition plans, seeking validation, maybe absolution. Instead, his words hit like ice water. What do you mean? He picks up the photo of Father and Rachel. Your technical skill is exceptional, but there's something desperate in these compositions, like you're trying to prove something. I'm exposing the truth. Are you? He sets down the photo, fixes me with that penetrating stare that made him famous in the art world. Or are you creating a new fiction? Before I can respond, my phone buzzes. Dylan, emergency at the gallery, come now. The gallery is chaos when I arrive. Water drips from the ceiling, pooling around carefully arranged frames. Dylan stands amid the wreckage, talking to a maintenance worker. Pipe burst, he explains, running fingers through wet hair, right above where your father's series was meant to hang. My stomach twists. Coincidence? The pipe was deliberately damaged. He lowers his voice. Security footage shows someone who looks remarkably like Emma. The betrayal hits harder than I expected. Show me. The footage is grainy but unmistakable, my mirror image, methodically destroying my carefully laid plans. As I watch, Dylan's hand finds mine. We can still salvage this. Move the exhibition, maybe even... No! I pull away, an idea forming. We use this. Clara, think about it. The perfect daughter sabotaging her twin's art show to protect Daddy's reputation? That's a better story than anything I planned. His silence speaks volumes. When he finally responds, his voice carries an edge I've never heard before. You're starting to sound like them. I'm nothing like them. No? He gestures at the water-damaged prints. Manipulation? Secrets? Seems pretty familiar. Before I can argue, Rachel Bennett walks in. She surveys the damage with clinical detachment, then turns to me. We need to talk. Dylan starts to protest, but I wave him off. Rachel leads me to a quiet corner, her heels clicking against wet concrete. Your father asked me to deliver a message. She hands me an envelope. Inside is a check with more zeros than I've ever seen. Walk away now. No exhibition, no exposé, no more threats. He's trying to buy my silence? He's trying to protect you. Something flickers across her face. Pain, maybe regret. You don't know everything, Clara. About Jessica Martinez, about what really happened that day. I know enough. Do you? She pulls out her phone, shows me a photo I've never seen. My father, 20 years younger, standing with a woman who could be my twin. This was Jessica's mother. Ask yourself why your father can barely look at you. The world tilts sideways. I grab the wall for support, pieces clicking into place with nauseating clarity. Father's distance, mother's resentment, Emma's desperate need to be perfect. The truth you're chasing? Rachel's voice sounds far away. It's uglier than you imagine. Are you sure you want to destroy everyone to get it? I think of Professor Simmons's words about desperate compositions, about creating new fictions, about what we choose to see versus what's really there. The exhibition opens in 2 weeks, I say finally. Tell my father he can keep his money. And Rachel, next time he sends a messenger, make sure they don't have their own secrets to protect. Her composure cracks, just for a moment. She leaves without another word, her exit as precise as her entrance. Dylan appears at my side. You okay? No. I look at the ruined gallery, at the fragments of the story I thought I was telling. But I will be. I pull out my camera, start photographing the destruction. Water droplets catching light. Damaged frames creating new patterns. The story changing shape before my eyes. What are you doing? Dylan asks. Rewriting the narrative. I adjust the aperture, focus on a torn photograph floating in a puddle. Father's face bisected by the tear. They want to destroy my truth? Fine. I'll show them what destruction really looks like. The camera clicks, capturing the moment everything changes. Sometimes the best revenge isn't exposing secrets, it's creating new ones. The anonymous email arrives at midnight. Your sister isn't as perfect as she seems. Check the hospital's financial records, 2018. I've spent 3 hours digging through Emma's old files, my hands shaking as I piece together the truth. Patient records altered, prescriptions modified, money transferred to offshore accounts, all under Emma's login credentials. My phone lights up. Dylan. Where are you? The gallery opening's in 3 days. I ignore it, focusing on the screen. Emma's digital fingerprints are everywhere, but something feels off. The patterns are too obvious, too careless for my methodical twin. A soft knock makes me jump. Professor Simmons stands in my studio doorway holding a manila envelope. Interesting timing, he says, stepping inside. Your father just resigned from the hospital board. What? He hands me the envelope. Inside are photos, surveillance stills from the hospital parking garage. Emma meeting with Rachel Bennett, money changing hands, dates stamped in the corner, 2018. Where did you get these? Your partner's quite resourceful. Simmons studies my reaction. Dylan's been gathering evidence for months, though I suspect he's not just doing it for you. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. Dylan's sudden interest in my family drama, his push for the exhibition, the convenient timing of every revelation. He's writing a book, I whisper. Simmons nods. True crime expose, The Thompson Legacy, Medicine, Murder, and Money. Quite the catchy title. My phone buzzes again. Emma. We need to talk now about Dylan. The drive to Emma's apartment feels surreal. She opens the door before I knock, pulls me inside. Her perfect composure has cracked, hair disheveled, eyes red. I tried to protect you, she says. Everything I did was to protect you. By falsifying records? By keeping father's secrets, she paces, agitated. Rachel threatened to expose everything, about Jessica Martinez, about mother's breakdown, about why he can barely look at you. I couldn't let that happen. So you paid her off. I created a paper trail, made it look like embezzlement. She stops, faces me. But someone else accessed those records recently, using my credentials. The anonymous email burns in my pocket. Dylan. He's been playing us both, Clara, setting us against each other while he builds his story. She pulls out her phone, shows me an email. His publisher contacted father yesterday, offered to bury the story for a price. My carefully constructed revenge plot crumbles. I've been so focused on exposing my family's lies, I missed the betrayal right beside me. The exhibition is exactly what he needs. Your photos, your testimony, your pain, all perfect material for his book. Emma's voice softens. You're not the only one seeking revenge, Clara. My phone buzzes. Dylan again. Where are you? We need to finalize the gallery layout. What are you going to do? Emma asks. I look at the surveillance photos, at the evidence of my sister's desperate attempt to protect our family, at the proof of Dylan's manipulation. Change the narrative. I start deleting files from my laptop, my hands steady now. Emma watches, understanding dawning in her eyes. The exhibition opens in 3 days, I say. But it won't be the show anyone's expecting. Clara! You protected me once. I meet her gaze, my mirror image, my opposite, my ally. Now it's my turn. My phone buzzes one last time. Dylan. Everything okay? I type back. Perfect, just making final adjustments. This story needs the ending it deserves. Emma picks up one of the surveillance photos, studies it. We're still lying, still manipulating. No. I take the photo, tear it in half. We're finally telling the truth, just not the one they're expecting. The torn pieces flutter to the floor like autumn leaves. Outside, storm clouds gather. In 3 days, everything changes. But this time, I'm not just seeking revenge, I'm rewriting the whole damn story. Opening night. The gallery buzzes with anticipation, champagne glasses tinkling like wind chimes before a storm. I stand in the shadows, watching Dylan work the crowd, his practiced charm drawing them in. He doesn't know what's coming. Neither does my family. The exhibition space is divided into 2 rooms. The first displays the photos everyone expects, carefully curated evidence of my father's indiscretions, Emma's complicity, mother's denial, Dylan's masterpiece of manipulation. But the second room holds the truth. Quite a turnout. Professor Simmons appears beside me, studying the gathering crowd. Your father just arrived, with Rachel Bennett. My hands clench around my camera. And mother? In the parking lot, having what appears to be a breakdown. Emma's with her. Perfect timing. Everything's falling into place, just not the way Dylan planned. He catches my eye across the room, raises his champagne glass. I force a smile, remembering the manuscript I found on his laptop last night. The final chapter already written, ending with my family's spectacular downfall at this very exhibition. The crowd shifts as father enters, Rachel close behind. They pause at the first photograph, father leaving her house at dawn. His face remains impassive, but Rachel's hands shake as she reaches for a drink. Ladies and gentlemen, Dylan's voice cuts through the murmur. If you'll follow me, we'll begin the official tour. I slip away as he leads them through the first room, each image a carefully constructed narrative of family betrayal. My phone vibrates. Emma. Mother's coming in. Whatever you're planning, don't. Too late. The group reaches the doorway to the second room. Dylan starts his rehearsed speech about artistic truth and family secrets, then stops dead. Because the walls aren't filled with what he expected. Instead of father's scandal, there are screenshots of Dylan's manuscript, his emails to publishers, his staged photos, his calculated manipulation of every moment leading to this night. And at the center, blown up to massive scale, the contract he signed 3 months ago, promising a tell-all book about the Thompson family's destruction. What is this? His voice cracks. The real story. I step into the light. About a man so desperate for fame he orchestrated an entire family's downfall for a book deal. The crowd shifts uncomfortably. Father moves closer to the walls, reading Dylan's words about how he planned to use my pain, my revenge, my trust. Clara. Dylan reaches for me. Can you explain this? I project his laptop files onto the back wall. Every manipulated photo, every staged moment, every lie he fed me about justice and truth. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. The words echo my conversation with Emma, but now they carry different weight. You wanted a story about revenge? Congratulations, you got one. Mother appears in the doorway, Emma supporting her. But instead of the breakdown I expected, she stands straight, composed. Understanding passes between us, a first. Mr. Reed, Father's surgical precision cuts through the silence. I believe my lawyers will be contacting your publisher. Dylan's face contorts. You're making a mistake, Clara. Everything I wrote about them is true. Maybe. I raise my camera, capture his moment of desperation. But you forgot something crucial about revenge. What's that? It works both ways. The gallery erupts in chaos. Dylan lunges for the projector, but security, arranged by Emma, intercepts him. Reporters who came expecting one scandal find another. Father leads Mother out quietly, dignity intact. Rachel Bennett slips away unnoticed. Emma catches my arm as I head for the exit. Was it worth it? I look at the wreckage. My relationship, my exhibition, my carefully planned vengeance all turn to ash. Ask me tomorrow. Clara, Dylan calls out as security escorts him past. You'll regret this. I'm not the only one with secrets. He's right. There are still unopened doors, untold truths, Father's connection to Jessica Martinez, Mother's hidden past, Emma's own manipulations, but standing in the ruins of my revenge, watching the man I loved being led away in handcuffs, I realized something devastating. I've become exactly what I hated, someone who destroys lives in the name of truth. The camera feels heavy in my hands. One last photo to take, my own reflection in the gallery window, unrecognizable in the dark glass. Tomorrow, the real damage will begin. Tonight, I stand alone in the aftermath, wondering if revenge ever brings the freedom we think it will. The police release Dylan at dawn. I watch from my car as he emerges, disheveled but defiant. He spots me immediately, as if he knew I'd be waiting. Come to finish what you started? He slides into the passenger seat, smelling of stale coffee and defeat. Why Jessica Martinez? His laugh is hollow. Finally asking the right questions. Answer me. Your father didn't kill her. Dylan pulls out his phone, shows me a photo I've never seen. Father kneeling beside a hospital bed, holding the hand of a woman who could be my twin. He tried to save her, but Rachel Bennett? She made a mistake during surgery. Your father covered it up. The steering wheel feels cold under my fingers. And Emma knew? Emma found the records, created a paper trail pointing to your father instead of Rachel, protecting the family name, she said. He watches my reaction. But that's not the real story, is it, Clara? My phone buzzes. Emma, where are you? Mother's in the hospital. Your mother had an affair 28 years ago, Dylan continues, with Rachel Bennett's brother. 9 months later, twins were born. The world tilts sideways. You're lying. Am I? Why do you think Rachel's been so invested in your family? Why your father can barely look at you? He reaches for my camera in the back seat. The exhibition wasn't about exposing your father's secrets. It was about exposing yours. I grab his wrist before he can touch my equipment. You used me. We used each other. His fingers brush my cheek, and we're not done yet. The hospital looms ahead, its windows reflecting the rising sun. Emma waits outside, perfect posture cracking when she sees Dylan. What is he doing here? Tell her, Dylan urges. Tell her what you really found in those hospital records. Emma's face pales. Clara, don't. Rachel Bennett isn't just Father's colleague, is she? The words taste like ash. She's our aunt. The morning air grows thick with unspoken truths. Emma's hands shake as she reaches for her phone. Mother's asking for you, she whispers. Both of you, a voice adds. Rachel Bennett stands in the doorway, looking older than I've ever seen her. It's time you knew everything. Dylan moves to follow, but I block his path. This isn't your story anymore. Everything's a story, Clara. His smile turns cruel. And this one's far from over. Inside, Mother lies small against white sheets. Father sits beside her, head bowed, the perfect family portrait finally cracking. I wanted to tell you, Mother starts. Save it. I pull out my camera, start documenting. Click. Father's flinch. Click. Emma's tears. Click. Rachel's guilt. Let's hear the truth for once. Your father isn't Mark Thompson. Rachel's voice fills the silence. But he chose you both anyway. Chose this family, despite everything. Chose to lie, I counter. Chose to love, Father speaks finally. Even when it broke him. Emma reaches for my hand. For once, I don't pull away. The exhibition, Dylan calls from the doorway. Opens again tonight, new photos, new story, your choice, Clara. The camera weighs heavy in my hands, a lifetime of captured lies frozen in silver and light. You want revenge? Rachel steps forward. Take it, destroy everything, but ask yourself, what will you have left? My phone lights up with notifications. Dylan's already posting teasers online, feeding the scandal. The Thompson family legacy unraveling in real time. Click. Mother's resignation. Click. Emma's determination. Click. Father's quiet dignity. Clara, Emma's voice breaks. We're still sisters. That truth hasn't changed. The morning sun catches my lens, creating prisms across the hospital room. Through the viewfinder, I see us all clearly for the first time, broken, flawed, but still somehow family. I lower the camera. You're right, I tell Dylan. Everything's a story. But this one's mine to tell. His face darkens. You'll regret this. Maybe. I delete the morning's photos one by one, but at least it'll be my choice. The door closes behind him with finality. In the silence that follows, truth hangs heavy as morning fog. Now what? Emma whispers. I look at my fractured family, the only truth that matters anymore. Now we start over. Through the window, dawn breaks over the city, a new story beginning whether we're ready or not. The gallery feels different in winter light. My new exhibition, Family Fragments, opens tonight. No scandals, no revenge, just truth captured in silver and shadow. Dylan's book hit shelves last week. His version of events twisted into perfect tragedy. I haven't read it. Instead, I developed these photos. Father teaching Emma to suture oranges when we were 10. Mother's hands braiding my hair before dawn. Rachel Bennett's brother, my biological father, in his military uniform, forever frozen at 25. Ready? Emma adjusts a frame slightly, her perfectionism unchanged. She's wearing black tonight, matching me for once. Almost. I check my phone. No messages from Mother. She's still in treatment, learning to live with her own truths. Father visits her daily, proving love survives even when perfection shatters. Professor Simmons arrives first, studying each image with careful consideration. You've found your voice, he says finally, though perhaps not the one you expected. Nothing turned out as expected. I watch the gallery fill with familiar faces, hospital staff, university colleagues, even Rachel Bennett, standing before a photo of her brother with quiet dignity. The centerpiece catches everyone's attention, a triptych of the Thompson family, past, present, future. In the middle panel, Emma and I stand back to back, mirror images finally embracing their differences. Father and Mother occupy the edges, their poses suggesting both distance and connection. Quite different from your last exhibition, Dylan's voice cuts through the murmur. He looks expensive, successful, his book tour clearly paying off. Though I suppose truth sells better than revenge. You'd know. I turn to face him. How's the sequel coming along? There's always more stories to tell. He gestures to the photos. Like why Rachel Bennett really left the hospital, or what happened to all that missing money. Some stories aren't yours to tell. Everything's a story, Clara, you taught me that. Emma appears between us, steel beneath her smile. The press would love to hear about your creative writing process, Dylan, especially the part about fabricating evidence. He retreats, but his words linger. There are always more secrets, more vengeance waiting in the wings. The cycle never really ends. Father arrives last when the crowd has thinned. He stops before each photo, taking his time. I watch him discover our family through my lens. The pain, the love, the complicated truth of who we've become. Jessica would have been proud, he says finally. You never talk about her. Some grief doesn't need words. He touches the frame holding her hospital photo. She knew, at the end, about Rachel's mistake, about your mother's affair. She made me promise to protect you both. By lying? By loving you enough to let you find your own truth. The gallery lights dim, signaling closing time. Emma helps the staff clear wine glasses, while Rachel and Father share a quiet conversation by the exit. Our fractured family, finding new ways to fit together. I pack up my camera, but pause at the triptych. Something catches my eye, a detail I never noticed while shooting. In each panel, despite everything, we're all leaning slightly toward each other, gravity pulling us back together, even as we try to break apart. Clara, Rachel approaches, holding an envelope. There's something you should know about your biological father. Not tonight. I tuck the envelope away unopened. Some truths can wait. The winter air bites as we leave. Emma links her arm through mine, a gesture from childhood that feels both foreign and familiar. Dylan's right, you know, she says. There are more stories, more secrets. Let them stay secret. I look back at the gallery, at the life I've captured in light and shadow. We have enough truth for now. Father holds the car door open, a small gesture, but one he never made before. Mother's empty seat between us speaks volumes about healing and time. My camera sits heavy in my lap. One last photo begs to be taken. Our imperfect family heading home through darkness, finally facing the same direction. But some moments don't need capturing. Some truths live better in memory than film. The city lights blur as we drive. Behind us, the gallery stands dark, my fragments of truth waiting for tomorrow's viewers. Ahead, more stories wait to be discovered, more secrets to be kept or shared. For now, this is enough, this delicate balance of truth and silence, revenge and forgiveness, family and freedom. For now, we drive home together through the gathering night.
The cake sits untouched in front of me. 21 perfect candles burning down to stubs while the entire room erupts in a chorus of "Happy Birthday," directed at my brother Ryan. I watch the flames dance, counting each second until they melt into the pristine white frosting, much like my own celebration has melted into his. I'm Jade. Today is my 21st birthday, and I'm watching my parents throw a party for my brother's latest internship offer. Make a wish, champion. My father's voice booms across our living room, his hand clasped proudly on Ryan's shoulder. The same shoulder that's wearing the designer suit they bought him last week, while I'm still wearing the dress I bought at a thrift store with my cafe wages. This is such a proud moment. My mother gushes, her mascara slightly smudged from happy tears. Harvard Law's top internship program. We always knew you were destined for greatness. I grip my fork until my knuckles turn white. The metal bites into my palm, grounding me as the room spins with congratulatory cheers. Aunt Carol is dabbing her eyes. Uncle Steve is already talking about connections at his law firm. My cousin Sophie catches my eye from across the room, her expression a mirror of my disgust. Speech? Someone calls out, and Ryan stands, flashing that perfect smile that's gotten him everything he's ever wanted. I just want to thank everyone for being here today. He starts, and I can't help but notice how he's positioned himself in front of the happy birthday banner, my banner, that Mother hastily covered with congratulations streamers this morning. The words bubble up before I can stop them. Interesting timing for this celebration. The room goes quiet. Mother's smile freezes, that practiced expression she uses when trying to maintain control. Jade, dear, let's not what, Mother? Not mention that it's my birthday? Or not mention how you converted my celebration into Ryan's victory lap? You're being dramatic. Father cuts in, his tone sharp. This is a significant achievement for the family. The family? I laugh, and it sounds hollow even to my ears. You mean for Ryan. Everything's always for Ryan. Ryan at least has the decency to look uncomfortable. Sis, come on. Don't sis me. I stand up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. 21 years of watching you get everything while I get the leftovers. Did you know I got accepted into Columbia's writing program? Of course not, because when I told them last week, they were too busy planning this party. That's enough. Father's face is turning red. You're embarrassing yourself in this family. This family embarrasses itself. I snap back. The great Derek and Laura, so focused on their golden child, they forgot they had a daughter. Well, congratulations. You've finally pushed me to my limit. Mother steps forward, her voice trembling. If you can't appreciate what we've done for this family, perhaps you should... Should what? Leave? Is that what you want to say, Mother? Finally get rid of the disappointment? If that's how you feel, Father says coldly, there's the door. The room holds its breath. I look around at the faces, some shocked, some embarrassed, some carefully neutral. Only Sophie and my grandmother Margaret show any sign of understanding. Fine. I grab my purse from the coat rack. Happy birthday to me. Jade, Ryan calls after me, but I'm already walking out the door. The spring air hits my face, carrying the scent of blooming cherry blossoms, the trees I used to climb as a kid while Ryan got private tennis lessons. My phone buzzes. It's Ella. Did you do it? Did you finally stand up to them? I text back with shaking fingers. It's done. Can I crash at your place? Her response is immediate. Already setting up the spare room. And Jade, I'm proud of you. I take one last look at the house, at the perfect lawn and the perfect windows with their perfect curtains, hiding the perfectly crafted lie of our family. Something shifts inside me, a switch flipping from hurt to determination. They want me gone? Fine. But they're about to learn that the daughter they never wanted is the one they should have feared the most. Ella's spare room feels like a life raft in a storm. 3 days since I walked out, and the silence of not having to measure every word, every breath, is almost deafening. I sit cross-legged on the borrowed bed, staring at my phone's black screen, counting the notifications I'm not getting from my family. Earth to Jade, Ella says, leaning against the doorframe with 2 steaming mugs. Your coffee's getting cold and your interview outfit is getting wrinkled. I smooth out the blazer laid across the bed. Sorry, just thinking about... Don't. She hands me the coffee. That's your 3rd time almost mentioning them today. We're focusing on your future, remember? The coffee burns my tongue, but I welcome the pain. It's better than the hollow feeling in my chest. The Urban Grind interview is in 2 hours. I should probably... My phone buzzes. Grandmother Margaret's name lights up the screen. Jade, darling, are you safe? I'm okay, Gran. I'm staying with Ella. Good girl. Listen carefully. I've been waiting for you to finally stand up to them. There are things you need to know, but not over the phone. Can you meet me at Riverside Park tomorrow? The usual bench? Before I can respond, I hear Mother's voice in the background. Margaret quickly adds, I have to go. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. And hangs up. Ella raises an eyebrow. That sounded cryptic. Gran's always been different from the rest of them. She actually sees me. I stand up, straightening my blazer. But right now, I need this job. I can't keep crashing here without contributing. Please, as if I'd let you pay rent. Ella throws a cushion at me. But you're right about the job. You need your own money if you're really cutting ties. The Urban Grind sits on the corner of maple-lined Cedar Street, its brick facade warm and inviting. Inside, the interview room smells like freshly ground coffee and possibility. Your application is impressive, the manager, Sarah, says, but there's a gap in your references. No family contacts? I meet her eyes steadily. I prefer to keep my professional and personal life separate. She nods, something knowing in her expression. Fair enough. When can you start? Walking out with a job offer and training schedule, I almost miss Ryan leaning against my car. Almost. Nice ride, he says, tapping the rusty fender of my secondhand Honda. Better than walking, I guess. What do you want? To talk. You're still my sister, Jade. Funny, I don't remember you mentioning that at the party. He runs a hand through his perfect hair, a nervous tic I recognize from childhood. Look, I didn't know they were going to hijack your birthday. I tried to tell them, save it. I unlock my car door. You've never had to try for anything in your life, Ryan. Everything's just handed to you while I scrape by. Did you know they promised to pay for my college too? Funny how that money disappeared right when your law school deposits were due. His face pales slightly. I didn't know. Exactly. You never know because you never have to look. Must be nice in that bubble of yours. Mom and Dad are worried. They want you to come home. I laugh, and it sounds bitter even to my ears. Home? That stopped being my home the day they decided I was worth less than you. Tell them I said thanks for the birthday gift. Clarity looks good on me. As I drive away, my phone buzzes with a text from Sophie. Found something in Uncle Derek's study. You need to see these papers. Can you meet tonight? I glance in my rearview mirror. Ryan's still standing there, looking lost for maybe the first time in his life. Good. Let him feel a fraction of what I've felt for years. Tomorrow, I'll meet Gran and hear whatever she needs to tell me. Tonight, I'll see what Sophie's found. The pieces are moving, and for once, I'm not just a pawn in someone else's game. Ella's waiting when I get back, victory cupcake in hand. Got the job? Start training tomorrow. I take the cupcake, but don't eat it. Ella, I need to ask you something. If this gets ugly, really ugly, are you sure you want to be involved? She takes my hand, squeezing it tight. Honey, I've watched them dim your light for years. It's about time someone helped you shine. I squeeze back, thinking of Gran's cryptic call and Sophie's message. Then let's get started. The morning air bites at my face as I hurry through Riverside Park. Gran's already at our bench, her silver hair catching the autumn light. She's holding a thick manila envelope, her fingers trembling slightly as she grips it. You look tired, darling, she says as I sit beside her. First week at the new job. Everything hurts except my pride. I try to smile, but Gran's expression stops me. What's wrong? She presses the envelope into my hands. These are copies of documents I found in your father's study last year. Bank statements, transfer records, letters, the truth about your college fund. Inside, I find papers dating back 5 years. My fingers go numb as I scan the numbers. This can't be right. There's over $200,000 here. Your grandfather set up trust funds for both you and Ryan before he died. Equal amounts. Gran's voice hardens. Your father was supposed to be the trustee until you turned 21. Yesterday. The world tilts sideways. But they said they couldn't afford my tuition. That's why I had to take out loans. They transferred your money to Ryan's account. Gradually, over years, private schools, sports camps, that ridiculous car. She takes my hand. I tried to stop it, but Derek threatened to cut off my access to the family if I interfered. My phone buzzes. Sophie calling. I ignore it, my hands shaking as I flip through more documents. Does Ryan know? No. He's as much a victim of their manipulation as you are, just in a different way. They've made him dependent, entitled. Another buzz. Sophie again. This time I answer. Jade, thank God. You need to get home right now. Your father found out I was in his study. He's destroying everything. My heart stops. What do you mean, destroying? Papers, files, everything. He knows someone's been looking into the accounts. He's in a complete panic. Gran grabs my arm. Go, now. I'll make copies of these. I drive like a woman possessed, reaching my parents' house in record time. Sophie meets me at the side door, her face pale. They're in the study. Your mom's trying to calm him down, but... A crash from upstairs cuts her off. We race up together, finding the study door locked. Open this door. I pound on the wood. I know what you did with my trust fund. Silence falls inside. Then my father's voice, eerily calm. You don't understand anything, Jade. I understand enough. $200,000, Dad. My future. You stole it. We invested it in your brother's future. The family's future. Mother's voice now, strained. Everything we did was for this family. No, I say, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. Everything you did was for Ryan. And now everyone's going to know. The door flies open. Father stands there, papers scattered around him, a wastepaper basket smoldering with half-burned documents. You wouldn't dare destroy this family's reputation. You already did that yourself. I hold up my phone, recording. And now I have proof. His face contorts. You ungrateful. Derek! Mother grabs his arm as he steps toward me. For the first time, I see fear in her eyes. Sophie slips past them into the study, quickly gathering fallen papers. I'm done covering for you, Uncle Derek. This ends now. You're both making a terrible mistake, Mother says, but her voice wavers. I laugh, and it sounds like breaking glass. No, the mistake was thinking you could get away with this forever. The mistake was believing I'd stay quiet. The mistake was forgetting that I'm your daughter, too. Father slumps against his desk, suddenly looking old. You don't understand what pressure we were under. Ryan's future? Save it for the lawyers. I turn to leave, then pause. Oh, and happy birthday to me. Finally got my inheritance after all. Outside, Sophie hands me the salvaged papers, her hands shaking. What now? My phone buzzes with a text from Gran. Document safe. Your grandfather would be proud. Now, I say, watching my parents' silhouettes in the study window. We make them face everything they tried to burn away. And we do it together. The autumn wind whips around us, carrying away the smell of burned paper and lies. For the first time since my birthday party, I feel truly, completely alive. The annual family reunion invitation sits on Ella's coffee table like a loaded gun. I've been staring at it for an hour, the gold embossing catching the afternoon light. This year's host? Ryan. It's perfect, Sophie says through my phone's speaker. Everyone will be there. The whole family will have to face what they did. I trace the embossed letters. Ryan's hosting at the lake house. That's where your grandfather signed the trust documents. Gran finishes, her voice joining Sophie's on the conference call. Derek won't expect you to know that detail. My hands shake as I pull out the trust fund papers. Have either of you told Ryan anything? He came by yesterday, Gran says, hesitating. He's different. Asked about you. About why you really left. The doorbell rings. I freeze, but Ella's already opening it. Ryan stands there, looking uncertain in a way I've never seen before. Can we talk? He glances at my phone. Alone? I end the call, nodding to Ella as she slips into her bedroom. Ryan sits across from me, his eyes falling on the papers spread across the table. I found some interesting documents in Father's study, he says quietly, about my car, my schools, your missing college fund. How much do you know? Enough to make me sick. He runs his hands through his hair, that nervous tick again. I swear, Jade, I had no idea. I thought they were just better off than they let on. They were, with my money. I'll pay it back, all of it. I've already talked to my bank about... This isn't about the money anymore. I meet his eyes. This is about years of lies. About them making you their golden child while treating me like I didn't exist. About them burning evidence when they realized I knew. He picks up the reunion invitation. That's why I'm hosting. I want you there, Jade. Help me make this right. Make it right? I laugh, but it catches in my throat. You can't just write a check and fix this. No, but I can help you expose them. His voice drops. Father's been moving money around, not just yours. There are other accounts, other families involved. Aunt Carol's kids' inheritance, Uncle Steve's business loans. My heart stops. How deep does this go? Deep enough to destroy him. To destroy them both. He pulls out his phone, showing me screenshots of bank statements. The lake house party? It's not just a reunion. Father's planning to announce his retirement, hand everything over to me. His company, his reputation, his secrets. I study my brother's face, looking for any trace of manipulation. Why are you showing me this? Because you're my sister. Because I was too blind to see what they were doing to you. Because... He swallows hard. Because I need your help to stop them before they do this to anyone else. The invitation seems to pulse with new meaning. The whole family will be there. Everyone they've ever stolen from. Everyone they've lied to. Ryan's hands clench. Help me end this, Jade. Not just for you, for all of us. I stand, walking to Ella's window. The street below is filling with evening traffic, people heading home to their normal families, their uncomplicated lives. If we do this, I say finally, we do it my way. No warnings, no chances for them to hide more evidence. Agreed. Ryan stands too. But Jade, there's something else you should know. About grandmother Margaret. My stomach drops. What about her? She didn't just find those documents last year. She's been tracking their schemes for decades, and... He hesitates. She has proof that this started before we were even born, with our real inheritance. The one our grandfather never meant for father to control. The pieces click together. Gran's careful questions over the years, her subtle support, her determination to keep me independent. The reunion's in 2 weeks, Ryan says, heading for the door. Whatever you decide, I'm done being their puppet. After he leaves, Ella emerges. Well? I pick up the invitation, feeling its weight. Call Sophie and Gran. We need to move faster than we planned. Are you sure about trusting Ryan? I think about his nervous tic, his screenshots, the sick look in his eyes. No, but I'm sure about one thing. This just got bigger than revenge. The invitation catches the last ray of sunlight, glinting like a blade. The lake house looms ahead as I drive up the winding road, its windows reflecting the setting sun like warning signals. 3 days until the reunion, and my hands won't stop shaking. Ryan's car is already parked out front, along with Gran's old Mercedes. I find them in the study, surrounded by papers and laptops. Gran looks up first, her face tight with worry. It's worse than we thought, darling. Ryan turns his laptop toward me. Father's been moving money through shell companies for years, not just family funds, corporate accounts, client trusts, everything. The screen shows a maze of transactions, each one leading back to familiar names. Aunt Carol's children's college funds, Uncle Steve's failed business loans, Cousin Thomas's medical care money. He's built his entire empire on stolen futures. Gran says quietly. Your grandfather suspected but could never prove it. My phone buzzes. A text from Sophie. Uncle Derek just left our house. He knows something's wrong. Be careful. We need to move faster, Ryan says, running his hands through his hair. He's already started transferring assets overseas. Once that's done, he'll disappear with everything. I finish, including the proof. Gran touches a stack of old letters. There's something else. Your mother, she's not just complicit. She's been the architect of all this. The accounting, the cover-ups, the manipulations, they're all in her handwriting. The room spins slightly. I grip the back of a chair, feeling the smooth wood under my fingers. All those times she pushed me aside. She wasn't just favoring Ryan. She was protecting their scheme. Jade. Ryan's voice is strange. There's more. Look at this. He hands me a document, dated 21 years ago. My birth certificate, with an attached insurance policy. A life insurance policy. In Mother's name. She took it out the day you were born. Gran whispers. $5 million. Payable only if I died before 21. The words taste like ash. That's why they threw Ryan's party on my birthday. They were celebrating that the policy expired. That they didn't have to... The study door slams open. Mother stands there, her perfect makeup not quite hiding her fury. What are you doing here? Laura. Gran starts, but Mother cuts her off. You've poisoned them against us, haven't you, Margaret? Filled their heads with lies about their father? The only lies here are yours, I say, holding up the insurance policy. Were you disappointed when you didn't get to cash this in? Something flickers in her eyes. Not guilt, but frustration. You don't understand what it takes to build something lasting, to secure a legacy. By betting on your daughter's death? Ryan stands, his face pale. By stealing from our entire family? Everything we did was for you, Ryan. For your future. She steps forward, reaching for him. We can still protect that future. Together. Just help me gather these papers and we can... Stop. My voice doesn't shake anymore. Every word you say just proves what you really are, what you've always been. And what's that? Her smile is razor sharp. A monster who saw her children as investments. Nothing more. She laughs, and it sounds like breaking glass. Oh, darling, you have no idea what real monsters look like. But you will. She pulls out her phone. Derek, they're here. All of them. Yes, with the documents. A pause. Of course, I'm sure. It's time to implement contingency plan B. The line goes dead, and Mother's smile widens. You have 30 minutes to leave this house and forget everything you've seen. After that? She shrugs elegantly. Well, accidents do happen at lake houses, even to adults. You're threatening us? Ryan steps between her and me. Your own children? I'm protecting our legacy, as I always have. She turns to leave, then pauses. Oh, and Jade, happy belated birthday. Such a shame you won't make it to 22. After she's gone, Gran grabs her keys. We need to move, now. Get everything to my car. But I'm staring at the insurance policy, something clicking into place. No, we stay. Jade. The reunion's in 3 days. Everyone will be here. I meet Ryan's eyes, seeing my own determination reflected back. Let them come. All of them. It's time they saw what real monsters look like in the daylight. Gran touches my arm. And if your parents follow through on their threat? I pick up Mother's forgotten phone, left deliberately on the desk. Then they'll have to explain a lot more than missing money to the police, because I just recorded every word. The lake house windows darken with the setting sun, no longer reflecting warnings but promises. In 3 days, everything changes, one way or another. The lake house fills with relatives as evening falls, their chatter echoing off the walls like accusations. I stand in the corner of the great room, watching Father work the crowd with practiced charm. Mother floats between groups, her laugh just a touch too bright. Ryan hasn't arrived yet. Quite the turnout, Sophie whispers, appearing at my elbow. Aunt Carol's been crying in the bathroom. Something about Thomas's medical bills coming due. My phone buzzes. A text from Ryan. Delayed. Someone broke into my apartment. All the documents are gone. The room suddenly feels too small, too warm. I slip onto the balcony, gripping the railing until my knuckles turn white. Another buzz. Police are here. Father's name came up in their questions. Problems? Mother's voice makes me jump. She stands in the doorway, backlit by the party lights, looking more predator than parent. Such a shame about Ryan's break-in. These things happen when people don't properly secure their belongings. What did you do? Me? She sips her wine. I'm just a devoted mother, celebrating her son's success. Speaking of which, your father's about to make his big announcement. You wouldn't want to miss it. Inside, Father taps his glass for attention. Family, friends, thank you all for coming to celebrate Ryan's achievement in hosting his first family gathering. But I have an even bigger announcement. The crowd murmurs expectantly. I scan the room. No Gran, no Ryan. My chest tightens. As of tonight, I'm officially retiring, Father continues, and I'm proud to announce that Ryan will be taking over as CEO of our family enterprise. Applause breaks out. Uncle Steve raises his glass, his smile strained. To Ryan, though some of us are still waiting on those business loans you promised, Derek? All in good time, Father says smoothly. In fact, I have some papers here that should interest several of you regarding your investments. He reaches into his briefcase and pulls out a stack of documents. My heart stops. They're forgeries. They have to be. The real papers are gone, stolen from Ryan's apartment. Jade. Mother's hand closes around my arm, her nails digging in. Why don't you join me in the study? We need to discuss your future. Let go of me. Now, dear. Her grip tightens. Before you embarrass yourself again. The study door clicks shut behind us. Father's already there, along with 2 men I don't recognize. Meet our security consultants, Mother says. They're very good at handling delicate situations. Like breaking into Ryan's apartment? Father sighs. Ryan made his choice. Disappointing, but manageable. You, however? He nods to one of the men, who moves to block the door. You've become a liability we can no longer afford. The insurance policy expired, I say, backing away. You can't— Oh, darling. Mother laughs. There are so many ways to have accidents, especially at lake houses, especially after drinking too much at family gatherings. A glass appears in her hand. My glass from earlier. Your fingerprints, your DNA. Combined with your history of emotional instability and recent erratic behavior, the second man steps forward, something glinting in his hand. My back hits the wall. Why? My voice cracks. I'm your daughter. No, Father says quietly. You're a mistake I should have corrected years ago. The door bursts open. Ryan stands there, bloody and disheveled. Police are on their way. I triggered the silent alarm when I saw your security consultants following me. Ryan, Mother starts, but he cuts her off. Save it. I heard everything. He holds up his phone. And so did the detective who's been investigating your financial fraud for the past year. Sirens wail in the distance. The security men exchange glances, then slip out a side door. Father's face contorts with rage. You ungrateful— He lunges for Ryan. I move without thinking, grabbing the heavy paperweight from his desk. The impact drops him to his knees. Mother screams, but it's drowned out by the sound of breaking glass and shouting from the great room. Gran's voice rises above the chaos. The real documents are being projected on the wall right now. Every transaction, every theft, every lie. Father struggles to his feet, blood trickling from his temple. You've destroyed everything. No, I say, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. You did that yourself. Years ago, when you decided money was worth more than your children's love. The sirens grow louder. Mother backs away, her perfect mask finally cracking. Derek, the offshore accounts are frozen, Ryan finishes, along with everything else. Blue lights flash through the windows as police cars fill the driveway. I look at my parents, really look at them, and feel nothing but pity. Happy retirement, Father, I say, and walk out to face whatever comes next. The great room erupts into chaos as the projector displays decades of financial records across the wall. Aunt Carol collapses into a chair, Uncle Steve hurls his glass across the room, and cousins I haven't spoken to in years start shouting all at once. Father stands frozen at the front of the room, his retirement speech forgotten. Mother's perfect smile cracks like thin ice. Those documents are fabricated, she announces, but her voice wavers. This is nothing but a desperate attempt by our jealous daughter to— To what, Mother? Tell the truth? I step forward, Ryan at my side. About how you stole from everyone in this room? About the life insurance policy you took out on me? About how you were willing to kill your own daughter tonight to keep your secrets? The room falls silent. Even the police officers who just entered pause, hands on their weapons. Everything we did. Father starts, then stops as Gran walks in, carrying a familiar leather briefcase. Is that what you told yourself, Derek? When you forged your father's signature on those trust documents? She opens the briefcase, pulling out yellowed papers. Or when you and Laura orchestrated my husband's accident after he threatened to expose you? Mother's composure shatters. You can't prove— Actually, she can. Ryan's voice is steel. Grandfather's original autopsy report, the one you buried, the one showing poison in his system. Father lunges for the briefcase, but the police are faster. As they read him his rights, he locks eyes with me. You ungrateful child, he spits. We gave you everything. No. My voice doesn't shake anymore. You took everything. My inheritance, my education, my childhood. You even tried to take my life. We were protecting the family legacy. Mother shrieks as an officer approaches her. Everything was for this family. Was it? I gesture to the room, to the devastated faces of our relatives. Look around, Mother. Look at all the lives you've destroyed. The children who couldn't afford college, Thomas's medical bills, Uncle Steve's failed business. All so you could build Ryan into your perfect heir. I never wanted that. Ryan steps forward. I never wanted any of it. Mother's face twists. Then you're as weak as she is. All our sacrifices wasted on sacrifices? I laugh, and it sounds like breaking chains. You sacrificed nothing. You stole, you lied, you murdered. And for what? To feel powerful? To play God with other people's lives? You don't understand what it takes to build something lasting, Father says, echoing Mother's words from earlier. But now they sound hollow, desperate. I understand perfectly. I pull out my phone, playing the recording of their threats in the study. I understand that you're not parents. You're not even human. You're just empty shells so afraid of losing control that you destroy your own children to keep it. As the police lead them away, Mother turns back one last time. This isn't over, Jade. Families like ours don't air their dirty laundry. No one will believe. Everyone already believes. Sophie points to the windows where news vans are pulling up. The whole story's going live right now. Every transaction, every threat, every crime. Father slumps in defeat, but Mother struggles against the officers. You've destroyed everything. No, Mother. I watch as they're led away, feeling nothing but a profound emptiness. I've set everyone free, including myself. The room buzzes with shocked conversations and legal discussions. Aunt Carol hugs me, crying about finally being able to send her kids to college. Uncle Steve talks with the detective about recovering his stolen funds. Thomas's mother thanks me through tears. Ryan touches my arm. You okay? I don't know. I look around at the wreckage of our family's facade. Are any of us? We will be. Gran appears beside me, her eyes fierce with pride. Your grandfather would be proud, darling. You've done what he couldn't, exposed the truth. The truth, I repeat, tasting the word. It feels different now, less like revenge and more like justice. What happens next? Next? Sophie joins us, linking her arm through mine. We rebuild, but this time on a foundation of truth. Through the windows, I watch my parents disappear into separate police cars. The life they built on lies crumbles behind them, but in its ruins, I see something unexpected. Hope. Not just for me, but for everyone they hurt. The lake house stands silent, its secrets finally exposed to the light. And in that light, I find something I never expected to feel. Freedom. The courthouse steps feel colder than they should in spring. I watch my parents being led away in handcuffs, their designer clothes replaced by prison orange. Mother doesn't look back. Father does, just once, and in his eyes I see something I've never seen before. Understanding. The court's decision to seize their assets means everyone they stole from will be compensated. Ryan says beside me, his voice steady. Thomas's medical bills, Aunt Carol's kids' college funds, Uncle Steve's business loans, everything. Almost everything. I touch the envelope in my pocket. Gran's final revelation. Did you know she'd been tracking their scheme since before we were born? That she'd been secretly moving money into trust funds for both of us? He shakes his head. She protected us in her own way, just like you protected everyone by exposing the truth. Inside the envelope, photographs show a younger version of our grandmother, standing beside our grandfather at the lake house. Their smiles are genuine, untainted by the greed that would later poison our family. I found this in Father's study. I hand Ryan a letter, its edges worn. It's from Grandfather, written the day before he died. He knew what they were doing. He was going to stop them. And they killed him for it. Ryan's hands shake as he reads. All these years, I thought. We both thought what they wanted us to think. I take the letter back, feeling its weight. But Gran knew. She waited, gathered evidence, protected us until we were ready to face the truth. A familiar voice calls out, Jade! Ella runs up the courthouse steps, waving a newspaper. You need to see this. The headline reads, Family empire falls. Whistleblower daughter exposes decades of fraud. Below it, a smaller headline. Margaret Chen's secret legacy. How one grandmother protected future generations. There's more, Sophie says, appearing with her laptop. People are coming forward. Other families, other victims. Your parents' scheme went beyond just our family. And now they can't hurt anyone else, I say. But the victory feels different than I imagined. Hollow, yet somehow fuller. Gran joins us, her silver hair catching the sunlight. Your grandfather used to say that family legacies aren't built on money or power. They're built on truth and love. I thought this was about revenge, I admit. About making them pay for what they did to me. But it was never just about me, was it? No, darling. She takes my hand. It was about breaking a cycle. About choosing what kind of legacy you want to leave. Ryan stares at the courthouse doors. What do we do now? The company, the properties, everything they built. We rebuild, I say, surprising myself. Not their way, with lies and manipulation, but honestly. Together. Together, Sophie echoes, linking arms with me. The whole family, the real family. Ella hugs me tight. See? I told you you'd find your strength. But as I look around at these people, my brother who chose truth over privilege, my grandmother who protected us silently for years, my cousin who stood by me, my friend who never wavered, I realize something. I didn't find my strength, I say quietly. It was here all along, in the family I chose, the family that chose me back. A police officer approaches with one last document to sign, my final statement about the case. As I take the pen, I notice my hand doesn't shake anymore. Jade, Ryan says suddenly, look. Through the courthouse windows, I see the lake house in the distance, its windows no longer reflecting warnings but possibilities. And beside it, almost hidden by trees, a small building I never noticed before. Your grandfather's old study, Gran explains, where he kept his real records. There's something there you both need to see. Something about your true inheritance. More secrets? I ask, but without bitterness. She smiles, and it holds both sadness and hope. No, darling. No more secrets. Just truth. And perhaps a different kind of legacy to build. The spring breeze carries the scent of new beginnings as we descend the courthouse steps. Behind us, justice has been served. Ahead, something else waits. Not an ending, but a transformation. I take one last look at the newspaper headline, then let it blow away in the wind. Some stories don't need to be written in papers. They're written in the choices we make, the truths we face, and the love we choose to give. Even when, especially when, it's not the easy choice.
My phone buzzed 3 times in rapid succession. 3 messages from my mother, each more demanding than the last. I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keypad as nausea crept up my throat. Cancel your engagement party. Sophie's promotion celebration is that weekend. Family comes first, Aria. The irony of her last statement made me want to hurl my phone across the room. Instead, I gripped it tighter, watching my knuckles turn white. 3 weeks of meticulous planning, dozens of confirmed guests, and non-refundable deposits. All meant nothing compared to Sophie's impromptu celebration. Everything okay? Jack's warm hand settled on my shoulder. I hadn't heard him come into the kitchen. My sister got promoted. The words tasted bitter. Mother wants us to cancel our engagement party. What? That's ridiculous. We've been planning this for months. I showed him the messages. His jaw tightened, the only sign that he was as angry as I was. Jack had learned early in our relationship to measure his words when it came to my family. Your mother does realize we've already paid for everything. Oh, she knows. She just doesn't care. I scrolled through the previous messages from the past week. Look at this. She's been hinting at it. Sophie has big news coming. We might need to be flexible with dates. I should have seen this coming. The kitchen counter was covered with sample place cards I'd been organising, each one handwritten in careful calligraphy. Another skill Sophie had always dismissed as quaint and Old-fashioned. My phone buzzed again. Call me immediately. This isn't a request. Don't, Jack said quietly. Not while you're upset. I'm always upset when it comes to them. I pushed away from the counter, pacing the kitchen. You know what the worst part is? Sophie probably didn't even ask for this. Mother just decided, like she always does. The memories flooded back. My high school graduation rescheduled because of Sophie's dance recital. My college acceptance celebration combined with Sophie's junior prom send-off. My art show opening missed because Sophie had a minor cold. We're not cancelling, Jack said firmly. This is our engagement party, not a casual dinner plan. My phone started ringing. Mother's face filled the screen. A photo from happier times that I kept meaning to change. I declined the call. She'll just keep calling. Let her. Jack gathered the place cards into a neat stack. What do you want to do? The question caught me off guard. In my family, what I wanted had always been secondary, tertiary even, after Mother's wishes and Sophie's needs. Another text. Your silence is childish and disappointing. Sophie worked hard for this promotion. My fingers moved before I could stop them. So did I, for my engagement party. The response was immediate. Don't make this about you. I laughed, a harsh, broken sound that made Jack look up sharply. When has it ever been about me? Aria. Jack's voice held a warning note. He knew my tells, knew when I was about to do something rash. I'm done. I straightened my spine, feeling something shift inside me. I'm done being the reasonable one, the understanding one, the one who always gives in. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Sophie. Mum's really upset. Can't you just move your party? It's not that big a deal. Not that big a deal. Like my engagement was just an inconvenient scheduling conflict. We're keeping our date, I said, my voice steady. And I'm going to do something I should have done years ago. What's that? Jack asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. I'm going to make them understand exactly how it feels to be treated like an afterthought. I picked up my phone, opened my contact list, and began deleting numbers, starting now. The screen lit up with another incoming call from Mother. This time, I didn't just decline it, I blocked her number. The family photo album sat heavy in my lap, its leather cover cracked with age. I hadn't opened it in years, but blocking Mother's number had unleashed a flood of memories I couldn't ignore. I found Sophie's promotion announcement, Jack said, holding up his phone. Vice President of Marketing at 24, that's impressive. Let me guess, Mother already shared it everywhere. 300 likes in 2 hours. I flipped through the album, stopping at my college graduation photo. In it, Sophie stood front and center, her bright red dress drawing every eye. I was off to the side in my cap and gown, half cropped out of the frame. Did I ever tell you about my first art show? I traced the edge of another photo, Sophie's Sweet 16. It was the same night as Sophie's regional dance competition. Mother told me it was selfish to expect the family to choose between us. Did anyone come? Grandma Marie! She sat there for 3 hours, bought 2 pieces. I closed the album. Mother said I was trying to steal attention from Sophie's big night. My phone lit up with a text from Lily. Your mum's calling everyone. She's saying you're having a breakdown. What's happening? Before I could respond, another message appeared. Sophie just posted about her promotion party, same date as your engagement celebration? That can't be coincidence. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the front window, I spotted my father's silver Mercedes. I can tell him you're not here, Jack offered. No, I need to handle this. Father stood on our porch, looking uncomfortable in his tailored suit. He always dressed like he was heading to a board meeting, even on weekends. Your mother's worried, he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. She says you're not answering her calls. I'm sure she is worried. I kept my voice level, worried that for once she can't control the situation. Aria. He used his warning tone, the one that used to make me shrink into myself. This isn't like you. Sophie worked hard for this promotion. And I worked hard planning my engagement party. 3 weeks of preparation, thousands in deposits. Money isn't the issue. He waved his hand dismissively. We'll cover any costs. That's not the point, and you know it. The point is family unity. Your mother has already announced Sophie's celebration. Of course she has. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Did she mention she demanded I cancel my engagement party first? Or did she just make it look like I'm the unreasonable one? Father shifted his weight, avoiding my eyes. There's no need for drama. We can celebrate your engagement another time. Like you celebrated my art show, or my graduation, or every other milestone that got pushed aside for Sophie. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is you standing there once again, telling me to sacrifice my happiness for Sophie's convenience. Jack moved closer, his presence steady behind me. Father's eyes flickered between us. Your mother says Jack's been influencing you, turning you against the family. Jack's the only one who's ever put me first. The words came out sharp, cutting. Maybe that's why you all hate him so much. Father's face hardened. We don't hate. Save it. I pulled out my phone, opened Sophie's social media post about her promotion party. Look at the comments. Mother's already told everyone I'm having a breakdown, hasn't she? That I'm being difficult and selfish? His silence was answer enough. Get out. My voice was quiet but firm. Tell Mother her manipulation tactics won't work this time. The engagement party stays as planned. You'll regret this attitude, Arya. Family is all we have in the end. No, Father. Family is supposed to have our backs, not stab us in them. After he left, Jack held me while I shook, not with tears but with rage. My phone buzzed again. A message from Sophie. You're embarrassing yourself. Just reschedule. You're making Mom sick with worry. I opened my laptop and began typing an email to our entire extended family. It was time they heard my side of the story, starting with a simple truth. For years, I've stayed silent about the systematic emotional abuse in our family. That silence ends today. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The war mother started. I was going to finish it. The responses started flooding in within hours of my email. Aunt Carol called me brave. Uncle Steve said I was attention-seeking. Cousin Nina sent a private message about similar experiences. But it was Lily's text that made my hands shake. Check your mother's latest email thread now. I found it buried in my spam folder. A group message to the entire family with the subject line, concerning Arya's mental state. Attached were carefully selected photos spanning years, each one doctored to paint a narrative. Me looking sullen at Sophie's graduation while everyone else smiled. Me standing apart at family gatherings. All carefully curated evidence of my supposed instability. She's been planning this, I whispered, scrolling through the thread. These photos go back years. Jack leaned over my shoulder reading. She's gaslighting the entire family. Look at the timestamps. She sent this minutes after my email. She was prepared for me to fight back. My phone rang, Sophie's number. Against my better judgment, I answered. What the hell are you doing? Her voice crackled with rage. Do you know what you've started? Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. Did you help Mother collect those photos? A pause. Too long to be innocent. You're paranoid. Am I? Because someone had to send her those pictures of me at your college graduation. The ones where I look unstable because I had food poisoning. You're twisting everything. Like Mother twisted the truth about my art show? Tell me, Sophie, did you really have a dance competition that night? Or did Mother just tell everyone that? Another pause, heavier this time. What are you talking about? Check your old competition schedule. I did. There was no regional competition that weekend. Mother lied to everyone, including you. The silence stretched. I heard papers rustling on her end. That's not possible. Isn't it? She's been playing us against each other our whole lives, Sophie. I'm just the first one to say it out loud. A knock at the door interrupted us. Through the window, I saw Grandma Marie's familiar silhouette. I have to go, I told Sophie, but while you're fact-checking, look up when your company actually announced vice president promotions, because according to their website, they happened 2 months ago. I ended the call and opened the door. Grandma Marie stood there, clutching her ancient leather handbag and looking grimmer than I'd ever seen her. "Your mother called me," she said, stepping inside. "Told me to talk sense into you. But first, show me these emails everyone's talking about." I handed her my laptop. She read in silence, her expression darkening with each paragraph. "Your mother's response," she finally said, "reminds me of something your grandfather used to do. He'd rewrite history so convincingly sometimes I'd doubt my own memories." "Did you ever confront him?" "No." She closed the laptop. "And I've regretted it every day since. But you should know your mother's latest email blast included something she thought would destroy you." My stomach clenched. "What?" "Financial records, suggesting you've been stealing from the family business." The room tilted. I grabbed the counter for support. "That's impossible. I've never even had access." "Exactly." Grandma Marie's eyes glittered. "And I have proof. I've kept every document since your grandfather made me company treasurer 30 years ago, including the real records that show who's been skimming money." Understanding dawned. "Sophie, and your mother, covering for her. They've been doctoring books for years." She patted her handbag. "I brought copies. I've been waiting for someone brave enough to stand up to them." My phone buzzed. Another email from Mother. "Final warning. Retract your accusations, or tomorrow everyone learns what you've really been doing." I looked at Grandma Marie, saw the steel in her eyes matching my own resolve. "Send me those records," I said. "It's time to show Mother what real evidence looks like." "Be careful, dear." Grandma Marie squeezed my hand. "The most dangerous moment is when someone like your mother realizes they're losing control." I thought of all the years of manipulation, the carefully constructed lies, the orchestrated family drama. "Good," I said. "Let her feel what it's like to be powerless for once." As I drafted my response, attaching the real financial records, I felt something shift inside me. The last traces of doubt burning away in the face of cold, hard truth. The financial records spread across my kitchen table like a roadmap of betrayal. Each spreadsheet told its own story, money siphoned from company accounts, fabricated expenses, all carefully hidden beneath layers of creative accounting. Sophie's signature appeared on document after document, alongside Mother's authorizing initials. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since I'd forwarded everything to the family board members. "Your sister's outside," Jack said, peeking through the curtains. "She looks different." I joined him at the window. Sophie stood by her car, makeup-free, wearing old jeans instead of her usual designer clothes. She looked younger, almost vulnerable. "Don't let her manipulate you," Jack warned. "I know their tricks now." I opened the door before she could knock. "Here to threaten me again." Sophie stepped inside, her movements uncertain. "I came to ask why." "Why what? Why did I expose the truth? Why did I stop letting Mother puppet master our lives? Or why did you steal from our family's company?" She flinched. "I didn't. It wasn't stealing. Mother said it was my rightful share, that Father would never properly compensate me otherwise." "And you believed her? Like you believed her when she said I demanded to have my promotion party on your engagement date?" Sophie's voice cracked. "I never asked for that. I didn't even know about it until she announced it." I stayed silent, watching her unravel. "The company's launching an audit," she continued. "I'll lose my job, my reputation, everything I've worked for, everything you stole for." "I didn't know!" She slammed her hand on the counter. "Mother handled all the paperwork. She said it was standard practice, that everyone did it. I just signed what she gave me." Jack moved closer to me. "Why are you really here, Sophie?" She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. "Because of this." She played a voicemail from Mother. "Fix this mess with your sister immediately, or I'll make sure everyone knows exactly whose idea the embezzlement was. I have documents with only your signature, darling. Who do you think they'll believe?" The familiar cold calculation in Mother's voice made my skin crawl. "She's turning on you," I said. "She's turning on everyone." Sophie's laugh was hollow. "I checked the competition dates like you said. There was never any conflict with your art show, or your graduation, or anything else. It was all her, playing us against each other, and I was too stupid to see it." We both were. The board's meeting tomorrow. Sophie wrapped her arms around herself. Mother's presenting her evidence, all pointing to me acting alone. Father's already distancing himself. I have nowhere else to go. I studied my sister, really looked at her for the first time in years. Behind the perfect facade Mother had crafted, I saw someone as trapped as I'd been. "Show me everything," I said. "Every document, every email, every conversation with Mother about the company finances. Why would you help me? After everything?" Because destroying you was Mother's plan, not mine. I grabbed my laptop, and I'm done letting her win. Jack touched my shoulder. "Are you sure about this? Mother wanted us to tear each other apart. Instead, we're going to tear down her whole system." I turned to Sophie. "But first, you need to tell me the truth. All of it." Sophie nodded, tears spilling. "There's something else you should know. About your engagement party venue? Mother didn't just try to force you to cancel. She called them pretending to be you. They're giving your deposit to her tomorrow unless you confirm in person." My fingers curled into fists. "When?" 9 a.m. She's meeting them before the board meeting. I opened my email, began typing. Perfect, because at 9:15 the board will receive proof of every manipulation, every lie, every scheme she's ever pulled, including her latest attempt at fraud. "They'll destroy her," Sophie whispered. "No." I hit send on the email to my lawyer. "She destroyed herself. We're just going to make sure everyone sees it." Sophie's phone buzzed. Another message from Mother. She showed it to me. "Don't disappoint me like your sister did." I deleted the message. Ready to disappoint her together? For the first time in years, my sister's smile matched mine. Genuine, determined, and just a little bit dangerous. "Let's end this," she said. The country club's dining room fell silent as I walked in, whispers following in my wake. Mother sat at her usual corner table, holding court with her social circle. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw genuine surprise crack through her perfect mask. "Darling," she called out, voice honey-sweet, "I didn't expect to see you here." "Clearly." I approached their table, noting how her friends shifted uncomfortably. "Is that why you felt safe spreading rumors about Jack's gambling addiction?" One of her friends, Mrs. Henderson, choked on her mimosa. "I'm merely concerned," Mother said smoothly, as any mother would be given the circumstances. "What circumstances? The ones you fabricated? Or the ones you paid people to believe?" "Aria," her warning tone, the one that used to make me shrink. "You're making a scene." "No, Mother. You made the scene when you told the entire club that Jack's family is involved in money laundering. That's libel, by the way. His law firm is very interested in discussing it." The colour drained from her face. "You wouldn't dare. Check your email. Their cease and desist letter arrived an hour ago." Mrs. Henderson and the others began gathering their purses, murmuring excuses. Mother's fingers tightened around her water glass. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you left me no choice. Did you really think I wouldn't find out about you impersonating me to cancel my venue booking?" A flash of panic crossed her features, quickly masked. "I don't know what you're talking about." The venue manager recorded the call, Mother, standard practice for contract changes. "Would you like to hear your performance?" She stood abruptly. "We should discuss this privately. Like how you privately told Aunt Sarah that Jack got me pregnant to trap me into marriage. Or how you privately suggested to Uncle Robert that my art gallery is a front for tax evasion. Everything I've done has been to protect you. From what? Happiness? Independence? The ability to exist without your control? You're hysterical." She reached for my arm. "This is exactly why—" I stepped back. "Touch me and I'll add assault to the lawsuit." Her mask cracked completely. "You ungrateful little—" "Mother!" Sophie's voice cut through the tension. She stood in the doorway holding a manila envelope. "The board members are asking for you. Something about unauthorized transfers from the company accounts." Mother's face went from rage to calculation in an instant. "Sophie, darling, perfect timing. Tell them." I already told them everything. Sophie moved to stand beside me, including how you forged my signature on half those documents. I made you! Mother's voice rose, drawing stares from nearby tables. Everything you are, everything you have, is built on lies, I finished, but that stops today. You think anyone will believe you over me? I've spent years building our family's reputation, while destroying ours. Sophie opened the envelope, spreading photos across the table. Grandma Marie kept everything, Mother. Every doctored photo, every manipulated document, every piece of evidence showing how you pitted us against each other. Mother's hands shook as she looked at the photos. Marie wouldn't. Already did, I said. The board has copies. So does Father. Daniel would never. He signed the audit approval this morning. Sophie's voice cracked. It's over, Mother. Security appeared at the dining room entrance, summoned by whom I couldn't tell. Mother saw them too, her face hardening into something unrecognizable. You'll regret this, she hissed. Both of you. When everything falls apart, don't come crawling back. Mrs. Harrison? One of the security guards approached. We need you to come with us. The board members are waiting. I watched them escort her out, her head held high, even in defeat. The dining room erupted in whispers as soon as she was gone. Sophie gripped my hand. Did we just... Yeah, I squeezed back. We did. What happens now? My phone buzzed. A message from Jack. Venue secured. They're pressing charges for fraud. Now, I said, we plan an engagement party. A real one, without any manipulation or control. Think she'll retaliate? I looked at the scattered photos on the table, years of evidence of Mother's machinations. Probably, but this time we're ready for her. Sophie picked up one of the photos, us as children, before Mother's games tore us apart. We should have done this years ago. We weren't strong enough then. I gathered the evidence back into the envelope, but we are now. The board meeting ended in chaos. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I watched Mother storm out, leaving scattered papers in her wake. Father followed, his face ashen, while Sophie sat frozen in her chair, staring at nothing. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications from every social platform, all sharing Mother's latest post. With heavy hearts, we must address the disturbing allegations made by our daughter Aria, who has struggled with reality since childhood. The attached photos showed me at my worst moments. Carefully curated evidence of a narrative she'd been building for years. Me looking unstable at family events, medical records from my teenage anxiety attacks, therapy sessions she'd forced me into after Sophie's dance recitals overshadowed my art shows. She's thorough, Lily said, scrolling through the comments. She's painting you as mentally unstable, claiming everything you've revealed is a delusion. The financial records. She's saying you fabricated them, that your obsession with undermining Sophie's success has reached dangerous levels. Lily hesitated. Half the family's already sharing it. My hands shook as I opened another notification. A message from the venue. Given recent concerning developments, we must terminate our contract immediately. Jack burst through the boardroom doors. Your mother's lawyers are filing a cease and desist. They're claiming defamation, threatening criminal charges for the company financial records. But they're real. They're saying you hacked the system, planted false evidence. He ran a hand through his hair. They've frozen Grandma Marie's access to the archives. Without her original documents, Sophie finally moved, her voice hollow. Mother's claiming I had a breakdown, that you manipulated me into making false accusations against her. She's already contacted my company's HR department. The room spun. Everything we'd gathered, every piece of evidence, every careful plan, Mother had anticipated it all, laid her trap, and waited for us to walk right into it. My phone buzzed again. A text from Father. Your mother is willing to forgive this episode if you agree to intensive treatment. Don't force us to take legal action. She's going to win, I whispered. She always wins. No. Jack grabbed my shoulders. We can fight this. Your grandmother is being evaluated for cognitive decline according to Mother's latest update. Lily showed us the post. She's suggesting Marie's memory can't be trusted. The conference room door opened. Nina slipped in, looking pale. Aunt Megan's at the hospital with Grandma Marie. She collapsed after the lawyers left. What? Sophie stood so fast her chair toppled. That's impossible. She was fine this morning. Mother's post just went live, Lily interrupted. Devastated by the strain of her granddaughter's accusations, beloved family matriarch Marie Harrison suffered a stress-induced cardiac event. My legs gave out. Jack caught me before I hit the floor. She's using Grandma Marie's condition to prove how destructive I am. The realization felt like acid in my throat. She's turning my own revenge into proof of my instability. Sophie's phone chimed. The company's suspending me pending investigation. Mother's lawyers submitted evidence that I was coerced into making false allegations. We have to retract everything, Nina said quietly, before she destroys you both completely. If we do that, she wins. But my voice lacked conviction. She already has. Sophie's laugh was bitter. She planned for this, Arya. Every move we made, she was 10 steps ahead. My engagement party invitations sat on the conference table, elegant and mocking. All I'd wanted was one day that was mine, one moment without Mother's manipulation. Instead, I'd given her exactly what she needed to prove her point. What do we do now? Sophie asked. Before I could answer, every phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. A group message from Mother. Your father and I are deeply concerned about this destructive behavior. We've arranged for immediate intervention. The facility comes highly recommended. Attached was a brochure for a private mental health hospital. She's going to have me committed. The words felt distant, unreal. She's going to use everything I've done as proof that I'm unstable. Jack pulled me close. I won't let that happen. You might not have a choice. I stared at the invitation, at all our ruined plans. She's won, hasn't she? She's finally won completely. Sophie touched my arm. Unless what? Unless we give her exactly what she wants. Let her think she's won. Sophie's eyes held a dangerous glint. And then we show her what real manipulation looks like. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw Mother's daughter. But this time, that might be exactly what we needed. The hospital corridor stretched endlessly, antiseptic and cold. I walked between two orderlies, playing the role Mother had written for me. The unstable daughter, finally accepting help. Behind us, Mother's heels clicked against the linoleum, a victory march. You're doing the right thing, darling, she said, her voice dripping concern. The doctors here will help you work through these delusions. I kept my head down, shoulders hunched, exactly how she expected me to look. Broken, defeated. The admitting room was small, windowless. A doctor sat behind the desk, reviewing the thick file Mother had provided. All those carefully curated incidents, all those manipulated moments, bound together to tell her version of my life. Just sign here. Mother pushed the admission papers forward. We'll take care of everything else. My hand trembled as I reached for the pen. Not from fear, but anticipation. Before I sign, Arya, her warning tone, don't make this difficult. I want to apologize. I looked up, met her eyes. You were right. About everything. Surprise flickered across her face, quickly replaced by satisfaction. Of course I was, darling. I've only ever wanted what's best. Which is why I recorded everything. The pen clattered to the floor. Mother's mask slipped just for a moment. What? Check your phone, Mother. Sophie's been live streaming since we entered the hospital. She grabbed her phone, fingers shaking as she opened the notification. There was Sophie standing in the hospital lobby, broadcasting to hundreds of viewers. My mother's attempt to institutionalize my sister for exposing her crimes. Sophie's voice came through clearly. The same tactics she used to silence Grandma Marie. Turn that off! Mother lunged for her phone, but the damage was done. Comments flooded the stream, shares multiplying by the second. The doctor stood. Mrs. Harrison, these allegations... are supported by evidence, Jack said, stepping into the room with 2 police officers, including Grandma Marie's original financial records, which she had digitally notarized years ago, anticipating exactly this situation. Mother's face contorted. You ungrateful. The board members are watching the stream, I cut in, along with HR, the family lawyers, and every social contact you've cultivated over the years. They're all seeing exactly who you are. No one will believe, they already do. I pulled out my phone, showed her the incoming messages. Support, apologies, revelations of their own experiences with her manipulation. You taught me well, Mother, about keeping evidence, about playing the long game, about waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Her hand shot out, nails raking my cheek. The officers moved instantly, restraining her. You're nothing without me, she screamed. I made you both. Everything you are is in spite of you, not because of you. Sophie appeared in the doorway, phone still broadcasting. It's over, Mother. The board's called an emergency meeting. Father's already agreed to testify about the financial fraud. Mother's struggles ceased. She straightened, smoothed her hair, tried to reclaim her dignity. You've destroyed this family. No. I stood taller, letting her see the strength she'd tried to break. You did that years ago. We're just finally breaking free. The officers began reading her rights. Mother stared at me, really looked at me, perhaps for the first time in years. You think you've won? Her laugh was brittle. You're more like me than you know. This revenge, this manipulation, I taught you everything. You taught me how to survive you. I picked up the admission papers, tore them in half. But I taught myself how to live without you. They led her away, her threats echoing down the corridor. Sophie ended the live stream, hands shaking. Did we just... Yeah. I touched my bleeding cheek. We did. Jack wrapped an arm around me. The venue called. They want to reinstate the contract for the engagement party. I looked at the torn papers, at the doorway where Mother had finally faced the consequences of her actions, at Sophie who'd chosen truth over manipulation. No, I said. I don't want to celebrate there. Too many echoes of her influence. Then where? I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. Somewhere new. Somewhere she's never been. Somewhere we can start fresh. Sophie took my hand. Together? Together. I squeezed back. But this time, on our terms. Through the hospital windows, sunlight broke through the clouds, a new day without Mother's shadow looming over us. Finally, beautifully, free. Grandma Marie's garden bloomed with late summer flowers as I helped her into her favorite chair. The fraud investigation had taken its toll, but her eyes remained sharp as ever. Your mother's sentencing is tomorrow, she said, adjusting her shawl. I know. I deadheaded a wilting rose. Father asked me to speak on her behalf. Will you? The rose petals scattered in the breeze. No. Sophie appeared with the tea tray, setting it carefully on the garden table. She'd moved in with Grandma Marie after everything, helping manage the company's restructuring while building her own consulting firm. The board approved the new transparency measures, she said, pouring tea. Everything Mother touched is being audited. And the family? Grandma Marie asked. I touched the fading scar on my cheek. Half of them still think I destroyed a perfect family. The other half wish they'd spoken up sooner about their own experiences with Mother. Perfect isn't the same as healthy. Grandma Marie took her tea. I learned that too late with your grandfather. Is that why you kept all the evidence? Sophie asked. I kept it because truth has a way of demanding to be heard. She pulled an envelope from her shawl. Speaking of which, inside was a photograph I'd never seen. Mother as a young woman, standing in this same garden, looking haunted and small while grandfather loomed behind her. She was like you once, Grandma Marie said softly, before she decided control was safer than freedom. The revelation settled like lead in my stomach. I'm nothing like her. No? Grandma Marie's gaze was gentle but firm. You orchestrated her downfall with the same precision she used to orchestrate your life. The difference is your choice of what to do with that power. My phone buzzed. A message from Jack about final details for our small wedding next week. No grand engagement party, no social media announcements, no carefully curated guest list. Just truth, simply told. I found more of Mother's journals, Sophie said quietly. From when we were kids. Her voice cracked. She had everything planned, every competition, every achievement, every spontaneous moment. Our whole lives were her carefully staged production. But she didn't plan for this, I gestured between us choosing each other over her games. No, Sophie smiled. That was all us. Grandma Marie touched the photograph. Your mother will have a lot of time to think about her choices now. The question is, what will you do with your freedom? I looked at my sister, at the garden where we'd once played before Mother's manipulation drove us apart, at the empty space where control had masqueraded as love for so long. I'm going to paint again, I said. Open my own gallery. With questionable accounting practices, Sophie teased. With complete transparency. I squeezed her hand. No more shadows, no more secrets. Speaking of secrets, Grandma Marie pulled out another envelope. There's something you should know about your grandfather's estate. But before she could continue, Father appeared at the garden gate. He looked older, greyer, but somehow lighter too. The prosecutors offered her a deal, he said without preamble. If she pleads guilty, they'll recommend a lighter sentence. Will she take it? Sophie asked. Only if you both agree to weekly family counselling sessions with her. The old familiar pressure descended, the weight of Mother's expectations, the obligation to maintain family harmony at any cost. But this time it felt different. No, I said, and Sophie nodded in agreement. Father didn't look surprised. She said you'd say that, said it proves how much like her you've become. Maybe she's right. I stood, facing him fully. Maybe I learned more from her than she intended, but I also learned what not to become. He nodded slowly, turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For not seeing it sooner. For not being stronger. We all have to choose our own way to be strong, Grandma Marie said, holding up the photograph. Some of us just take longer to figure out how. I watched Father leave, thinking about choices and consequences, about the fine line between justice and vengeance, about Mother sitting in her cell, probably still plotting, still trying to control the narrative. But her narrative didn't matter anymore. We were writing our own stories now. So, Sophie picked up her tea, about that gallery opening. Yes, I smiled, feeling the last weights of Mother's influence fall away. Let's talk about creating something new.
I stand frozen behind the oak tree, watching my mother-in-law's lips move with practiced venom. Her voice carries across the backyard, riding the smoke from the grill like a poison seeking its target. Ryan could have done so much better. That woman is nothing but a gold digger with her eyes on our family's money. The laughter that follows slices through me like shattered glass. I'm Amelia. And this is the moment I decide to destroy Margaret Carter's carefully constructed world of country club memberships and social superiority. My fingers dig into the rough bark as I watch her hold court among her friends, all of them nodding along like well-trained puppets. The pearls around her neck catch the afternoon sun, matching the gleam of malice in her eyes. 3 years of enduring her subtle jabs and backhanded compliments, and this is what it comes down to. Did you hear how she maxed out Ryan's credit card last month? Margaret's voice drops to a stage whisper. My poor boy works so hard as a teacher, and she's bleeding him dry. I almost laugh. If she only knew about the 3 tech companies I've built and sold. Or the offshore accounts that would make her family's supposed wealth look like pocket change. But Ryan wanted us to live modestly, to prove we weren't about the money. What a fucking joke that turned out to be. Amelia? Ryan's voice startles me. He's standing there with 2 glasses of wine, concern etched across his face. What are you doing behind the tree? Just listening to your mother's latest performance. My voice comes out steady, surprising even me. She's really outdone herself this time. His face falls. You know how she gets after a few glasses of wine. Just ignore. Don't. I cut him off. Don't make excuses for her. Not anymore. He reaches for my hand, but I step back. Through the gap in the branches, I can see Grace, Ryan's sister. Shifting uncomfortably as Margaret launches into another story about my supposed spending habits. I need to leave, I say, already walking toward the house. Amelia, please. Ryan follows me. Let's just talk about this. I spin around, nearly causing him to spill the wine. Talk about what, Ryan? How your mother has been systematically trying to destroy my reputation since the day we got married. How you've never once stood up to her. That's not fair. What's not fair is watching the man I love stand by while his mother tears me apart. My voice cracks, and I hate myself for it. Do you know what the worst part is? I could buy and sell this entire neighborhood 10 times over. But I've been living like a middle school teacher's wife because you wanted to prove we're not about money. His eyes widen. We'd agreed never to discuss my wealth with his family, but right now, I don't care about our promises. Amelia. Margaret's voice rings out, sickeningly sweet. Leaving so soon, dear? I turn to face her, and something inside me shifts. The hurt crystallizes into something harder, colder. More dangerous. Actually, Margaret, I think I'll stay. I smile, and it feels like baring teeth. I wouldn't want to miss any more of your colorful stories about me. She blanches slightly, but recovers quickly. Oh, I was just telling the ladies about your shopping habits. We're all so concerned about Ryan's finances. Are you? I step closer, close enough to smell her expensive perfume. How thoughtful of you to worry about our finances. I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to discuss money in the coming months. I leave her standing there, confusion warring with suspicion on her face. Ryan calls after me, but I keep walking. In my mind, plans are already taking shape, elegant, devastating plans that will make Margaret Carter wish she'd never questioned my worth. Let her think she's won this round. I've got time, money, and nothing left to lose except the facade of the dutiful daughter-in-law. Game on, Margaret. Game fucking on. The silence in our bedroom feels like a living thing, growing heavier with each tick of the clock. Ryan paces, his shadow cutting across the wall like a pendulum. I sit at my vanity, methodically removing my jewelry, each piece hitting the tray with a deliberate clink. You can't just declare war on my mother, he finally says. Watch me. I meet his eyes in the mirror. Unless you prefer I continue being her punching bag? He stops pacing. That's not fair. You know she's just protective. Protective? I spin around. Is that what we're calling public humiliation now? The doorbell rings, saving him from responding. Footsteps thunder up the stairs, and Grace bursts in without knocking, her face flushed. Mom's on the warpath, she announces, dropping onto our bed. She's already called Aunt Susan and half the country club about your disturbing behavior at the barbecue. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Of course she has. Heaven forbid anyone question St. Margaret's version of events. Amelia, Ryan warns, but Grace cuts him off. No, Ryan, she's right. Mom's being horrible. Grace sits up, her eyes bright. You should have heard her at dinner. She's convinced Amelia's going to bankrupt you and run off with some tech millionaire. If she only knew. The irony makes me want to scream. Your mother needs to understand that actions have consequences, I say, standing up. And I'm done playing the meek daughter-in-law. Ryan runs his hands through his hair. What exactly are you planning? Nothing she hasn't earned. I walk to the closet, pulling out my laptop bag. But first, I need to make a call. It's almost midnight, Ryan protests. Different time zone. I head for the door, but Grace catches my arm. Whatever you're planning, she whispers, I want in. Mom needs to learn she can't control everything. I study her face, seeing the years of frustration written there. Are you sure? This could get messy. I'm sure. Her grip tightens. Besides, someone needs to keep you from going full scorched earth. Ryan steps between us. Both of you need to stop. We can fix this like adults. I'll talk to Mom. Like you've been talking to her for the past 3 years? I shake my head. No more talks, Ryan. It's time for action. My phone buzzes, Liam's calling. Perfect timing. I need to take this, I say, moving toward the door. You two should discuss where you stand, because this train's leaving the station with or without you. In the hallway, I hear Ryan's muffled voice, Grace, you can't encourage this. Her response is clear and sharp, someone has to stand up to her, Ryan. If not us, then who? I smile, heading downstairs to the kitchen. Liam's voice greets me through the speaker, tell me you haven't killed anyone yet. Not yet, I reply, opening my laptop. But I need access to those offshore accounts we set up after the last company sale. Jesus, Ames. What are you planning? Remember that charity foundation we discussed? I type in my passwords, watching numbers scroll across the screen. Time to make it active. Very, very active. Margaret, he asks, knowing me too well. Margaret, I confirm. She wants to paint me as a gold digger? Fine. Let's show her what real money looks like. This is going to blow up in your face, he warns, but I can hear him typing. How much do you need? I name a figure that makes him whistle. That's not revenge, Ames. That's nuclear war. No, I correct him, hearing footsteps on the stairs. That's just the opening move. Ryan appears in the doorway, his face set in determination. We need to talk. I'll call you back, I tell Liam, closing the laptop. Ready to pick a side, husband? He meets my gaze, and for the first time tonight, I see something other than conflict in his eyes. I pick us, he says quietly. But whatever you're planning, there has to be limits. I stand, walking to him slowly. Limits are what got us here. Your mother certainly doesn't believe in them. He takes my hands, and I feel the slight tremor in his. Promise me you won't destroy our family completely. I kiss him softly, tasting the fear and love mingled on his lips. I promise to leave enough pieces for rebuilding. But first, some things need to burn. The black Amex card hits the counter with a satisfying thunk. The saleswoman's eyes widen. She knows Ryan's teacher's salary couldn't possibly qualify for this level of credit. I smile, channeling Margaret's country club superiority as I gesture to the display case. I'll take the full set. And the matching earrings. 3 hours and 6 boutiques later, I'm surrounded by shopping bags in our driveway when Margaret's Mercedes pulls up. Perfect timing. She steps out, her face twisting into exactly the expression I'd hoped for. Retail therapy? Her voice drips with manufactured concern. Just a little shopping for the charity gala next month. I deliberately fumble with the bags, letting her see the designer names. Ryan's been so generous lately. Her nostrils flare. Has he now? I check my watch. Ryan should be home from school any minute. The trap is set. Would you like to come in, Margaret? I'd love your opinion on these pieces. She follows me inside, practically vibrating with righteous indignation. I spread the purchases across the dining room table: jewelry, designer clothes. A limited edition handbag that costs more than Ryan makes in 2 months. This is unconscionable, Margaret finally explodes. You're bleeding my son dry. The front door opens. Right on schedule. Mom? Ryan calls out. What are you doing here? He enters the dining room and freezes, taking in the explosion of luxury goods. His face pales. Amelia, what is all this? Your wife's latest spending spree, Margaret cuts in. On your credit cards. I maintain my carefully crafted smile. Don't worry, darling. We can afford it. We most certainly cannot. Ryan picks up a price tag and nearly chokes. This is more than my yearly salary. Margaret pounces. I've been warning you about this, Ryan. She's using you for your money, and now she's not even trying to hide it. The doorbell rings again. Grace walks in, followed by Tommy. My audience is complete. What's going on? Grace asks, eyeing the table. Your brother's wife is finally showing her true colors, Margaret announces. Look at this obscene display of. Actually, I interrupt, I think it's time for some truth-telling. I pull out my phone, opening my banking app. Ryan, remember when you insisted we keep my finances private? Well, I think that arrangement has expired. Margaret scoffs. What finances? Everyone knows you were practically penniless when you married Ryan. I turn my phone toward her, watching her face as she processes the number on the screen. Her mouth opens and closes without sound. That's just one account, I say softly. Would you like to see the others? The room goes deadly quiet. Ryan sinks into a chair, while Grace lets out a low whistle. I don't understand, Margaret stammers. No, you don't. I step closer to her. You never bothered to understand anything about me. You were too busy assuming I was after your family's modest wealth to realize I could buy this entire neighborhood without blinking. Tommy clears his throat. Margaret, perhaps we should. No, she cuts him off. This is obviously some kind of trick. Some elaborate deception to. To what? I laugh. To prove that your precious family money means nothing to me? Mission accomplished. Ryan stands suddenly. You did all this to prove a point? No, I turn to him, my voice softening. I did this because your mother has spent 3 years spreading rumors about me, questioning my character, and undermining our marriage. And you let her. So this was all revenge? Grace asks. This was truth, I correct her. And we're just getting started. Margaret straightens her spine. Well, if you think this changes anything. Oh, it changes everything, I interrupt. Because tomorrow morning, I'm announcing a new charitable foundation. The Carter Foundation for Educational Excellence. And guess who's going to be very publicly excluded from the board? The color drains from Margaret's face as she realizes the social implications. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. I begin gathering the shopping bags. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to return all this. It was just for show, unlike some people. I don't actually need to flaunt my wealth to feel superior. As they file out, Ryan remains, staring at me like he's never seen me before. Was any of it real? He whispers. Every moment with you was real, I answer. Everything else was just theater for your mother's benefit. The question is, what's real for you? He doesn't answer, and I don't wait for him to try. Liam's penthouse feels like a sanctuary after 3 days of Ryan's silence. I stand at the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights blur through my third glass of wine. You look like hell, Liam says, refilling my glass. Margaret's cutting Ryan out of the inheritance. I press my forehead against the cool glass. She made the announcement at their weekly family dinner. The one I wasn't invited to. Isn't that exactly what you wanted? To prove she's the manipulative one? I turn to face him. Ryan hasn't spoken to me since the shopping incident. He's sleeping in the guest room. Ah. Liam settles into his leather armchair. So the plan's working perfectly, except for the small detail of destroying your marriage. My phone buzzes, a text from Grace. Mom's telling everyone you're having an affair. With a wealthy investor. Says she has proof. Fuck. I throw the phone onto the couch. She's escalating. What now? Before I can answer, my phone rings. Ryan's face appears on the screen. I answer on speaker. Where are you? His voice is tight, controlled. Working late with Liam. A pause. At his penthouse? The accusation hits me like a slap. Are you serious? Mom showed me the photos. My wine glass slips from my fingers, shattering on the hardwood. Liam jumps up, but I wave him off. What photos, Ryan? You entering his building. Multiple nights this month. The expensive restaurants. The late meetings. His voice cracks. Were you laughing at me this whole time? The poor teacher husband while you played with your tech millionaire friend? Ryan. Just tell me one thing. Was this all a game? Marrying me, hiding your wealth, this revenge against my mother, was it all just entertainment for you and Liam? Liam reaches for the phone, but I stop him. Come to the penthouse, I say. See for yourself what's really happening. I don't think. 30 minutes. Or you can believe your mother's lies and throw away 3 years of marriage. Your choice. The line goes dead. Liam starts cleaning up the broken glass. You know this is exactly what Margaret wanted, he says. To make you look like the villain. She's had me followed. I laugh, but it sounds more like a sob. All this time I thought I was the one in control. You still are. Liam stands, glass fragments tinkling in his palm. But you need to decide what matters more, winning against Margaret or saving your marriage. I don't know anymore. I sink onto the couch. When did I become the person who'd risk everything just to prove a point? When Margaret Carter made you feel worthless. He dumps the glass in the trash. But you're not playing her game anymore, Ames. You're playing something much more dangerous. The elevator dings. Ryan steps out, looking exhausted. His eyes take in the broken glass, the wine, Liam's concerned face. Show me, he says. I pull out my laptop, opening files I'd hoped never to share. Security footage of Margaret hiring the private investigator. Email threads showing her methodical campaign to discredit me at every charity board and social club in town. Bank statements proving she'd tried to access information about my finances months before the barbecue incident. She's been planning this for years, I say quietly. Waiting for the right moment to prove I was exactly who she claimed I was. And instead of telling me, you decided to play right into her hands. Ryan's voice is hollow. You became exactly what she accused you of being. No, Liam interrupts. She became what your mother feared most, someone powerful enough to challenge her control over you. Ryan looks at me, really looks at me, for the first time in days. What happens now? I close the laptop. That depends on you. I can keep fighting this war with your mother, or we can leave. Start fresh somewhere she can't touch us. No more games, no more secrets. Running away won't solve anything, he says, but I hear the longing in his voice. Neither will staying to fight a battle that's already cost us too much. The city lights flicker behind us, casting shadows that hide as much as they reveal. In the silence, I realize we're all waiting to see which version of truth will finally break this stalemate of lies. The invitation to the Carter Foundation Gala sits on my desk like a loaded gun. I've spent the morning signing checks with enough zeros to make Margaret's inheritance look like pocket change. Each signature feels like another nail in someone's coffin, I'm just not sure whose anymore. My phone lights up with Grace's text, Mom's planning something for the gala. Dad's trying to talk her down, but she's beyond reason. The door opens and Ryan walks in, still wearing his teaching clothes. He looks older somehow, worn down by the weight of choices neither of us should have had to make. The school board accepted my resignation, he says quietly. My hand freezes mid-signature. You didn't tell me you were resigning. You didn't tell me you were buying the entire east wing of the hospital in your maiden name. I set down the pen. That was supposed to be a surprise for the gala announcement. Like the surprise of finding out my mother's been admitted for anxiety attacks? Or the surprise of discovering you've been systematically buying up every company she's invested in? The accusation hangs between us like poison gas. Before I can respond, Liam calls. "Turn on the news," he says without preamble. Channel 8. The TV flickers to life, showing Margaret standing outside her country club. She's wearing her perfectly pressed tennis whites, her face a mask of concerned motherly worry. "Deeply concerned about the mental state of my daughter-in-law," she's saying. "The excessive spending, the erratic behavior. We're organizing an intervention because we love her and want to help." Ryan mutes the TV. She's playing her final card. She's trying to make me look unstable. I laugh, but it sounds unhinged even to my ears. Perfect timing, right before I announce the foundation. "Are you?" His voice is careful, measured. "Unstable?" I stand, walking to the window. Below, I can see reporters already gathering at our gate. Would an unstable person have orchestrated all this? The foundation, the hospital wing, the systematic dismantling of your mother's social standing? That's not an answer, Amelia. My phone buzzes again. Tommy Carter's name appears on the screen. I've never received a call from Ryan's father before. "Hello? Amelia." His voice is grave. "Margaret's had another episode. She's being transferred to the psychiatric ward." The irony hits me like a physical blow. "Which hospital?" "The one you just bought." I end the call, turning to Ryan. "Your mother's being committed to my hospital." He sinks into a chair. "This has to stop." "It will." At the gala. I pick up the invitation. "When everyone sees exactly who your mother really is. And who you've become." The question strikes harder than he probably intended. I look at my reflection in the window, designer suit, perfect makeup. Eyes burning with something that looks uncomfortably like Margaret's determination. "The gala invitations went out this morning," I say instead of answering. "Every social contact your mother has ever cultivated will be there. The hospital board, the country club committee, the charity league. You're going to destroy her. She tried to have me committed. And you drove her to a psychiatric ward." We stare at each other across the room that suddenly feels too small for all our unspoken accusations. My phone rings again. "Grace. Mom's asking for you," she says when I answer. She says she'll tell everyone the truth at the gala. About everything. What truth? I don't know. But Amelia. She hesitates. She's not faking this breakdown. I end the call, feeling the weight of every decision I've made pressing down on me. The foundation announcement. The hospital wing. The carefully orchestrated revenge that's spiraled so far beyond my control. The gala's tomorrow, I tell Ryan. Whatever truth your mother thinks she has, whatever game she's playing. It ends there. He stands, straightening his tie like he's preparing for battle. You're right. It ends tomorrow. One way or another. As he leaves, I look back at my reflection. The woman staring back at me looks exactly like what Margaret always feared, powerful, ruthless, dangerous. I wonder when I stopped trying to prove her wrong and started proving her right. The ballroom of the Grand Plaza sparkles like a minefield of crystal and champagne. I stand at the podium, scanning faces in the crowd, society matrons clutching their pearls, board members shifting in their seats. Ryan's family huddled together like survivors of a shipwreck. The only person missing is Margaret. Ladies and gentlemen, I begin, my voice carrying across the hushed room. Welcome to the inaugural Carter Foundation Gala. The double doors burst open. Margaret glides in, still wearing her hospital gown beneath Tommy's suit jacket. The whispers start immediately, rippling through the crowd like wind through dry leaves. Sorry I'm late, she announces, her voice clear and steady. I wouldn't miss my daughter-in-law's big moment. Ryan starts to rise, but Grace pulls him back down. I continue as if nothing's happened. Tonight marks the beginning of a new chapter in educational funding. Tell them, Amelia. Margaret walks closer, her hospital bracelet catching the light. Tell them about the real foundation of your wealth. My prepared speech crumples in my fist. Security. About how you orchestrated this whole charade. She's halfway to the podium now. About the shell companies? The insider trading? The room goes deadly silent. Liam appears at my elbow, whispering urgently, she's bluffing. But I see the folder in Margaret's hand, recognize the logo of the private investigator she hired. The same one who followed me to Liam's penthouse. Mrs. Carter, I say into the microphone, perhaps we should discuss this privately. Like you discussed buying control of my hospital privately? She reaches the stage. Or how you privately manipulated the stock of every company I invested in. Ryan stands now, moving toward us. Mother, that's enough. No. She opens the folder. Your wife isn't just a gold digger, Ryan. She's a fraud. And I can prove it. The room spins slightly. I see Grace's horrified face, Tommy's resigned expression, the hungry eyes of the society vultures ready to feast on my downfall. These documents, Margaret continues, show a pattern of illegal trading dating back to her first company. The wealth she's been flaunting? Built on fraud. That's impossible, Liam cuts in. I handled those deals myself. He stops, realizing too late what he's admitted. The whispers grow louder. Yes, Margaret smiles. You did. And now you're both implicated. My carefully constructed revenge crumbles like a house of cards. I look at Ryan, see the doubt creeping into his eyes. The SEC has copies of everything, Margaret announces to the room. They're very interested in the Carter Foundation's funding sources. The microphone feedback shrieks as I step back. Faces blur together, accusatory, triumphant, shocked. All my power, all my careful planning, undone by the one thing I never suspected Margaret would find. You want truth? My voice sounds strange, distant. Here's truth. I did everything you accused me of. The trading, the manipulation, all of it. Because people like you, Margaret, people born into privilege, never believed someone like me could succeed honestly. Amelia, Ryan warns, but I'm beyond warnings now. So yes, I broke laws. I cut corners. I became exactly what you always thought I was. I laugh, and it sounds like breaking glass. Congratulations, Margaret. You finally caught the gold digger you were looking for. Security's here, Liam murmurs. We need to leave. Now. Through the chaos, I see Grace crying, Tommy holding Margaret with something like pride, and Ryan standing absolutely still. Watching me with eyes I no longer recognize. I'm sorry, I whisper, though I'm not sure who I'm apologizing to anymore. As security approaches, I feel Margaret's triumph like a physical weight. She didn't just destroy my revenge, she proved herself right. Liam grabs my arm, pulling me toward the service exit. The last thing I see is Ryan, turning away as his mother's victory becomes my complete destruction. I wanted to prove Margaret wrong about who I was. Instead, I proved her right about who I'd become. The hotel suite feels like a prison cell, even with its luxury furnishings. I've been here for 3 hours when there's a knock at the door. Not Liam with more legal updates. Not the SEC agents who've been circling like vultures. Grace stands in the hallway, holding a manila envelope. Mom sent me, she says, stepping inside. To gloat? To deliver these. She hands me the envelope. The original documents. She's keeping copies, of course. I dump the contents onto the coffee table, years of financial records, trading patterns, corporate structures I'd thought were buried forever. Why? Because she wants to make a deal. The door opens again. Margaret walks in, still wearing Tommy's jacket over her hospital gown. She looks smaller somehow, more human, but her eyes are sharp as ever. Leave us, Grace. Grace hesitates, then squeezes my hand before going. The click of the door feels like a jail cell closing. Quite the performance tonight, Margaret says, settling into an armchair. You really had everyone fooled. Including Ryan. Like you fooled everyone with your convenient breakdown? I remain standing. The hospital stay was a nice touch. Oh, the breakdown was real. She smooths her gown. Finding out your daughter-in-law is actually a criminal mastermind can do that to a person. What do you want, Margaret? The same thing I've always wanted. She leans forward. My son's happiness. I laugh. By destroying his wife? By saving him from someone who never loved him enough to be honest. The words hit harder than any SEC investigation. You don't know anything about my love for Ryan. I know you loved winning more. She gestures at the scattered documents. Every move you made wasn't about proving your worth, it was about proving you could beat me. You started this war. And you became exactly what I accused you of being to win it. Her voice softens. We're more alike than you think, Amelia. The truth of it burns like acid. The deal, Margaret. What is it? Leave. Tonight. Sign over control of the foundation to Ryan, admit to the fraud, take the fall. I'll make sure Liam stays clear of any investigation. And if I refuse? Then we all burn together. She stands. Ryan, me, you, Liam, everyone loses everything. My phone buzzes, a text from Ryan. Are you still the woman I married? He'll never forgive you, I say. He'll heal. But if you stay, if you fight this, he'll spend years watching both of us destroy each other in court. She moves to the door. You have 1 hour to decide. After she leaves, I stare at the documents, at the evidence of every compromise, every shortcut, every decision that led me here. My phone buzzes again, Liam this time, SEC offering deal. Limited immunity for testimony against larger players. The irony hits me, Margaret and I both tried to protect Ryan in our own twisted ways. Both of us too proud, too certain of our own righteousness to see what we were becoming. I pick up my phone, typing quickly, I accept the deal. Not to Margaret. To the SEC. The door opens one final time. Ryan stands there, looking as exhausted as I feel. I got your message, he says. Which one? Both. He steps inside. The SEC agents and the one about still being the woman you were. And? I don't know anymore. He picks up one of the documents. But I know who you are right now, in this moment, matters more than who either of you tried to make each other be. I take the paper from him, adding it to the pile. I'm turning myself in. Full confession. Your mother, Liam, everyone else stays clear. That's not. The woman you married would have done the right thing from the start. I meet his eyes. Maybe I can be her again by doing it now. He doesn't try to stop me as I gather the documents. Doesn't offer false comfort or easy forgiveness. Just watches as I choose, finally, to end this war not with victory or defeat, but with truth. Sometimes winning means being the first to surrender. The visiting room at the minimum security facility smells like industrial cleaner and stale coffee. Margaret sits across from me, her perfect posture unchanged by the plastic chair. We stare at each other through the morning light, two generals surveying the battlefield after the war. The foundation's doing well, she says finally. Ryan's expanded the scholarship program. I know. I fold my hands on the table. Grace sends me the quarterly reports. She misses you. Margaret smooths her skirt, a nervous gesture I've never seen before. We all do, in our own ways. Even you? Especially me. She meets my eyes. It's quiet without a worthy opponent. I almost laugh at that. Almost. Is that why you're here? To reminisce about our little war? I'm here because it's time. She places a folder between us. The SEC has reviewed your cooperation. With my statement and Tommy's influence on the board. I don't want your help, Margaret. This isn't help. It's acknowledgement. She pushes the folder closer. We destroyed each other so completely that there's nothing left to fight over. I open the folder, early release recommendations, character statements, documentation of my complete cooperation. A path back to freedom, wrapped in Margaret Carter's precise handwriting. Why? Because you chose truth over victory. She leans back. In the end, you became better than both of us. The door opens. Ryan walks in, looking older in his suit and tie, the new Foundation director's uniform. He carries a small potted plant, barely surviving in its plastic container. The garden at home needed thinning, he says, setting it between us. Thought you might want something green in here. Margaret stands, touching my shoulder as she passes, the first time she's ever initiated contact. I'll leave you too. After she's gone, Ryan takes her place. We sit in silence, watching the weak sunlight struggle through the plant's leaves. You could have taken her deal that night, he says. Could have run, started over somewhere else. And proved her right about everything? Instead, you proved her wrong by proving her right. He almost smiles. That's the kind of logic that got us here. I touch one of the plant's leaves. I thought revenge would feel different. More satisfying. And how does truth feel? Expensive. I look around the visiting room. But cleaner, somehow. He reaches across the table, taking my hand. His wedding ring catches the light, he's still wearing it, after everything. The Foundation board meets next week, he says. They're reviewing applications for the new executive director position. Ryan. Someone with technical expertise. Financial background. A proven record of learning from mistakes. I withdraw my hand. I'm a convicted felon. You're someone who chose truth when lies would have been easier. He stands. The interview's next Thursday, if you're interested. Mom's vote counts double as board chair. My laugh echoes off the institutional walls. Now that's revenge. No. He touches the plant again. That's growth. After he leaves, I sit alone, watching shadows move across the table. Margaret and I had both been right about each other, and completely wrong. She'd seen the ruthlessness in me, the capacity for destruction. I'd seen the manipulation in her, the need for control. What neither of us had seen was the possibility of something beyond winning or losing. The guard appears to escort me back to my cell. On the table, the plant's leaves stretch toward the window, finding light in the most unlikely place. I leave the folder where it lies. Whatever comes next, freedom, redemption, reconciliation, will come on its own terms, not Margaret's or mine. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemy. Sometimes it's about becoming someone they never imagined you could be, someone you never imagined you could be. Even if that journey leads through a prison cell, a broken family, and a tiny plant reaching for the light. Especially then.
The small black device tumbled from beneath our bed, landing with a soft thud on the hardwood floor. At first, I thought it was just another lost charging cable or adapter, the kind that breeds in dark corners of every modern home. But as I picked it up, my stomach twisted into a knot. A wiretap. In our bedroom. Our sanctuary. I'm Iris. And until this moment, I thought I understood the rules of my new life as Nathan's wife. Keep the peace with his mother, Martha. Smile through her backhanded compliments. Pretend not to notice when she rearranges our furniture during her weekly visits. But this was different. Nathan? My voice cracked slightly. Could you come here for a minute? I heard his footsteps approaching. The familiar rhythm of his walk that usually brought me comfort now setting my nerves on edge. He appeared in the doorway, coffee mug in hand, his expression shifting from casual to concerned as he saw what I was holding. Where did you find that? His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Under our bed, while I was looking for my earring. I held it up, watching his face carefully. Please tell me you put this here. Nathan set his mug down with deliberate slowness and closed the bedroom door. He moved closer, examining the device without touching it. Don't say anything else, he mouthed, then grabbed his phone and typed quickly. Mom's been acting strange lately. Wouldn't put it past her. The blood rushed to my face as fury and humiliation fought for dominance. I grabbed his phone and typed back, "How long have you suspected?" He shook his head, indicating he wasn't sure. Then he typed, "Play along. Let's plan a weekend trip. Loud enough for anyone listening." I wanted to scream. I wanted to storm over to Martha's house and demand answers. Instead, I forced a bright tone into my voice. You know what? We should take that weekend trip to the coast we've been talking about, just the two of us. Nathan caught on immediately. Great idea, honey. We could leave Friday after work, stay at that boutique hotel you've been eyeing. Perfect. I squeezed the wiretap until my knuckles turned white. We deserve some private time together. We spent the next 15 minutes having an artificially cheerful conversation about our fake weekend plans while typing real messages back and forth on his phone. With each passing minute, my anger grew deeper, colder. Martha had always been controlling, but this crossed every line. When we finally felt we'd said enough for our unseen audience, Nathan took the device and secured it in his desk drawer. He pulled me close, his arms warm and solid around me, but for the first time since our wedding I felt myself stiffen at his touch. We'll handle this, he whispered against my hair. I promise. But as I stood there in our violated bedroom, I wasn't sure I believed him. This wasn't just about privacy anymore. This was about power, about control, about Martha's refusal to let her son have a life separate from her. And now I had a choice to make. Either accept this invasion and live under her surveillance, or fight back. I pulled away from Nathan and met his eyes. No more playing nice, I said quietly. This ends now. He nodded, but I caught the flash of uncertainty in his expression. Of course, she was still his mother, but she had made a critical mistake in underestimating me. Martha wanted to know every detail of our lives. Fine. I'd give her a show she'd never forget. I picked up Nathan's phone one last time and typed, "We need to talk to Clara. She'll know what to do." The game was on, and Martha had no idea what she'd started. Clara stirred her coffee with calculated precision, her eyes never leaving my face. We sat in the back corner of Rosemary's cafe, far from any possibility of being overheard. Not that Martha could bug a public place. At least, I hoped not. A wiretap? Clara's voice was low, controlled, but I caught the dangerous edge in it. In your bedroom? Nathan thinks she's been doing it for months. The coffee in front of me had gone cold, untouched. Every time I think about it, I feel sick. All those private conversations, all those intimate moments. And Nathan just, what? Suspected but didn't say anything? I flinched at the accusation in her tone. He says he wasn't sure, that she's always been intense about knowing everything in his life, but this is different. Different! Clara set her spoon down with a sharp clink. Iris, this is criminal. This isn't just a controlling mother-in-law anymore. This is stalking. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Martha's name lit up the screen, dropping by with some homemade soup. Nathan mentioned you weren't feeling well. Speaking of the devil, I muttered, showing Clara the message. You never told her you were sick? No. But Nathan and I had that loud, fake conversation about me having a headache last night, for our invisible audience. The irony made me want to scream. She's testing us, seeing if we found it. Clara leaned forward. Then let's give her something to listen to. You're going back home now, right? I nodded. Perfect. Let her come over. But first, we need to make a stop. 20 minutes later, I walked into my house carrying a shopping bag from a local pharmacy. Right on cue, Martha's car pulled into the driveway. I made sure to rustle the bag loudly as I set it on the kitchen counter. The doorbell rang. I took a deep breath, remembering Clara's words. Make her think she has the upper hand. Martha, I forced a smile as I opened the door. How thoughtful of you to bring soup. She swept past me, all designer perfume and perfectly coiffed hair. Well, when Nathan mentioned you weren't feeling well, I just had to come. You know how worried I get about my family's health. My family, not yours. That's so kind. I accepted the container, letting her see my slightly trembling hands. I was just picking up some things from the pharmacy, actually. Her eyes darted to the bag on the counter, exactly where I'd left it, the pregnancy test box visible through the semi-transparent plastic. Oh? Her voice lifted with barely concealed interest. Nothing serious, I hope. Just a few things I needed. I moved to put the soup away, deliberately leaving the pharmacy bag untouched. Martha hovered, straightening already straight pictures on my walls. You know, dear, you really should let me know when you're not feeling well. I have so much experience with these things. And Nathan, well, he worries so much about you. I bet he does, when you're constantly in his ear about it. Actually, Martha, I paused, as if considering something. Since you're here, could I ask you something personal? She practically vibrated with anticipation. Of course, dear. When you were first married to Samuel, how did you know when you were ready? For children, I mean. The look that crossed her face was almost worth everything she'd put me through. Almost. Are you... She couldn't even finish the question. Oh, no, I laughed nervously. Not yet, just thinking about the future. Martha's hand found my arm, her grip just this side of too tight. Darling, there's no need to be nervous about such things. Family is everything, and I'll be right here to guide you through it all. I managed a weak smile thinking of the wiretap in Nathan's desk drawer. Yes, you'll be right here, listening to every private moment of our lives. Thank you, Martha. That means so much. After she left, I waited exactly 10 minutes before calling Clara. Well, she asked. She took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. I stared at the pregnancy test I'd never intended to use. Now we wait. And then we show her exactly what happens when you mess with someone's family. The old photo albums in Samuel's study told a story Martha never wanted me to see. While she was at her weekly bridge club, my father-in-law had quietly invited me over, leading me to these leather-bound volumes with trembling hands. She'll be furious if she knows I showed you these, Samuel said, his voice barely above a whisper. Even here, in his own home, he spoke as if walls had ears. I flipped through pages of Nathan's childhood, every milestone documented with military precision. But something felt off about the images. They're all posed. Martha had them taken professionally, every month like clockwork. Samuel's fingers drummed nervously on his desk. If the first shoot wasn't perfect, she'd schedule another and another. A photo of 7-year-old Nathan in a sailing outfit caught my eye. His smile looked strained, eyes distant. Nathan never mentioned sailing. He hated it, seasick every time. But Martha's father had been a champion sailor, so... Samuel shrugged, the gesture heavy with years of acquiescence. I continued turning pages, seeing Nathan's life through Martha's carefully curated lens. Piano recitals, tennis tournaments, debate club. Each image more perfect than the last, each smile a little more forced. Then I found it. A candid photo, clearly taken without Martha's knowledge. Nathan, maybe 16, laughing with a girl I didn't recognize. They sat close on a park bench sharing headphones. Sarah Matthews, Samuel supplied, Nathan's first girlfriend. Martha made sure that ended quickly. How? She found out Sarah's father had filed for bankruptcy. Suddenly, the Matthews family was uninvited from all community events. Rumors started spreading. Within a month, Sarah's family moved away. My phone buzzed. Nathan, Mum's asking about baby names. What did you tell her? I ignored it, focusing on the next album. Nathan's college years. Fewer photos now, but more formal. More controlled. The wiretap wasn't the first time, was it? I asked Samuel. He wouldn't meet my eyes. She hired private investigators when he went to college, had his roommates report back to her. She said it was because she worried, but it was about control. My phone buzzed again. Martha this time. Darling, I found the most wonderful specialist. We should discuss your fertility options over lunch tomorrow. The pieces clicked into place. The wiretap, the sudden interest in my health, the constant presence in our lives. History was repeating itself. Samuel, I said carefully, what happened to Nathan's college girlfriend? The one in these photos? He closed the album abruptly. Catherine. She was studying medicine. Very bright. Very ambitious. What did Martha do? Nothing. That's what makes it worse. She just waited. Kept pushing Nathan toward law school, toward the family firm, kept reminding him about legacy, responsibility, family name. Catherine got into a residency program across the country. Martha made sure Nathan was too busy with law school applications to visit. My phone buzzed a third time. Nathan again. Mom's coming over. Says she's worried about you. I have to go, I said, standing quickly. Thank you for showing me these. Samuel caught my arm. Iris, be careful. Martha, she doesn't see what she does as wrong. She truly believes she's protecting her family. No, I said, pulling away. She believes she owns her family. There's a difference. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. The pieces were all there, the pattern clear as day. Martha wasn't just trying to control our lives, she was recreating Nathan's entire childhood. And now, with her suspecting a pregnancy... Nathan was waiting when I got home. Where were you? Mum's been calling everyone worried sick. I know exactly what your mother's doing, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. And I know why. Iris? No, Nathan, this ends now. Either you help me stop her, or I'm gone. I won't let her do to our children what she did to you. His face went pale. What are you talking about? Ask your father about Sarah Matthews, I said, watching the colour drain further from his face. Or Catherine. Or any of the other people your mother decided weren't good enough for her perfect family portrait. The front door opened before he could respond. Martha's voice rang out, cheerful and sharp as a knife. There you are, darling. I brought prenatal vitamins, just in case. The prenatal vitamins sat on my kitchen counter like a declaration of war. Martha had arranged them in a neat row, labels facing forward, a silent army of plastic bottles marking her territory. I hadn't touched them in 3 days. Nathan paced behind me, his reflection fractured in the window above the sink. We need to tell her. Tell her what? I kept my voice neutral, watching a cardinal land on our bird feeder. That we found her bug? That we know about Sarah and Catherine? Or that I'm not actually pregnant? All of it. He stopped pacing. She's already called 3 fertility specialists. Of course she has. The cardinal flew away as I turned to face him. Just like she called the private investigators in college. Just like she'll call them again when we actually have children. Nathan flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? I picked up one of the vitamin bottles, reading the label without really seeing it. Your father showed me the photos, Nathan. Every perfectly staged moment of your life. Is that what you want for our kids? Before he could answer, the doorbell rang. Through the frosted glass, I recognized Clara's silhouette, but when Nathan opened the door, Martha stood beside her. Look who I ran into in the driveway. Martha's voice dripped honey. Clara was just telling me about a wonderful fertility clinic her cousin used. Clara's eyes met mine, wide with warning. She'd never mentioned having a cousin with fertility issues. Martha, I said carefully, Clara and I have a lunch date. Oh, perfect. I'll join you both. We have so much to discuss about your future. The word future hung in the air like smoke. I watched Clara's hand tighten on her purse strap, saw Nathan's shoulders tense. Actually, Clara said, we were going to discuss work projects. Boring IT stuff. Martha's smile didn't waver. Nonsense. You shouldn't be stressing about work in your condition, Iris, not when there are so many important decisions to make. My condition? The vitamin bottle was still in my hand. I set it down before I could throw it. Well, given the pregnancy test I saw. Martha stepped closer, lowering her voice conspiratorially. Though I must say, you really should see a doctor soon. At your age, every precaution. Mother, Nathan's voice cracked like a whip, but Martha wasn't finished. I've already spoken to Dr. Reynolds. He's very discreet about these matters, especially given the family's position in the community. The family's position? Clara echoed, her tone dangerous. Of course. Martha patted my arm. We can't have any complications. Becoming public knowledge. Not like poor Catherine's situation. The room went silent. Nathan's face drained of colour. What situation? I asked, though my stomach was already knotting. Martha's expression shifted just for a moment before the perfect smile returned. Oh, did Nathan never mention? Such a shame about her miscarriage. Right before she moved away for her residency, too. These things happen when young women put career before family. The cardinal returned to the feeder outside, a flash of red in my peripheral vision. I thought of Catherine, young and ambitious, her dreams of becoming a doctor. I thought of the carefully staged photos, the forced smiles, the lives Martha had shaped and broken. Get out! My voice was steady, surprising even me. Excuse me? Get out of my house. I stepped forward, forcing her back toward the door. Get out of my marriage. Get out of our lives. Nathan, Martha appealed to her son. Surely you won't let her. You knew? Nathan's voice was hollow. About Catherine's baby, our baby. Martha's mask cracked just slightly. I did what was necessary. For your future. Get out, Nathan echoed, moving to stand beside me. Now. After she left, Clara hugged me tight while Nathan disappeared into his study. When I found him later, he was holding an old photograph, him and Catherine on graduation day, young and in love and unaware of what was coming. We need to find her, I said softly. He looked up, his eyes red. Why? Because your mother's right about one thing. I touched my stomach, thinking of the future we'd planned. Family is everything, just not the way she thinks. Catherine's social media trail ended abruptly 7 years ago. No posts, no updates, nothing after her move across the country. But Clara, bless her IT expertise, had found something else. A medical practice in Seattle under the name Catherine Chen Martinez. You're sure it's her? Nathan stood behind my desk chair, staring at the screen. Same medical school, same graduation year. I clicked through the practice's website. And look, her bio mentions growing up in Connecticut. Nathan's hand tightened on my shoulder. The wedding ring on his finger caught the light from my monitor, a silent reminder of everything Martha had orchestrated. We can't just show up at her office, he said. No. I opened my email. But we can send a message. The cursor blinked accusingly as I tried to find the right words. Dear Catherine, remember me. I'm the woman who married the man whose mother destroyed your life. Want to help us take her down? My phone buzzed. Martha, darling, I've been thinking about our little misunderstanding. Let's have dinner tonight. Just us girls. Another buzz. Martha again. After all, stress isn't good for the baby. She's not giving up, I muttered, showing Nathan the messages. She never does. He ran a hand through his hair. Maybe we should just confront her directly. Not yet. I turned back to the email draft. We need leverage. Something concrete. Like what? Like proof she knew about Catherine's pregnancy. Like evidence she's been stalking all of us for years. I started typing. Like whatever else she's hiding. The office door opened. Clara rushed in, face flushed. You need to see this. She handed me her tablet. On screen was a legal document. Old, but clearly legible. A restraining order filed 15 years ago by someone named Rebecca Walsh against Martha. Who's Rebecca Walsh? I asked. Nathan's sharp intake of breath answered before Clara could. Dad's first fiancée. What? Before Mum. I found an old photo once, but Mother said she'd died in a car accident before the wedding. Clara swiped to another document. Not dead, just scared away. According to this, Martha stalked her for months, threatened her family. Rebecca finally fled to Canada. My phone buzzed again. Martha, I'm coming over. We need to talk about your future. She's on her way here, I said, standing. Now. Nathan moved toward the door. I'll handle it. No, I caught his arm. This ends today, but not like this. Not with her controlling the narrative again. I turned to Clara. Can you find Rebecca? She nodded. Already working on it. Good. I walked to my desk drawer and pulled out the wiretap device. Because Martha's not the only one who can record conversations. Nathan's eyes widened. Iris, your mother wants to talk about my future. I slipped the device into my pocket. Let's talk about her past instead. Clara grabbed my hand. Be careful. She's dangerous when cornered. So am I. I squeezed her hand back. Nathan, call your father. Get him here. He needs to hear this too. The doorbell rang, its cheerful chime at odds with the tension in the room. Through the window, I saw Martha's Mercedes in our driveway gleaming like a predator. Ready? I asked Nathan. He looked at the tablet with Rebecca's restraining order, then at the wedding photo on my desk, us smiling, unaware of the shadows lurking behind that perfect day. Catherine lost our baby, he said quietly. Rebecca lost her future. How many others? No more, I promised, heading for the door. It stops here. Martha's voice drifted up from downstairs, calling my name with honeyed concern. I touched my pocket, feeling the wiretap device press against my hip. The same technology she'd used to control her family would now expose her true nature. Sometimes I thought, the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about forcing them to face their own reflection. I started down the stairs, Nathan and Clara behind me, toward the woman who thought she owned our lives. Time to show Martha what real family loyalty looks like. Martha sat in our living room like a queen on her throne, surrounded by the life she'd tried to orchestrate. Samuel stood by the fireplace, his face ashen after hearing about Rebecca. Nathan hadn't moved from his position by the window since Clara showed us the last piece of evidence, hospital records from Catherine's miscarriage, with Martha's signature on the visitor log. Really, Iris, Martha sighed, smoothing her silk blouse. All this drama over a simple misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? The recording device felt heavy in my pocket, like Rebecca Walsh was a misunderstanding. Martha's smile flickered. Ancient history. Or Catherine Chen? I stepped closer. Was her miscarriage just a misunderstanding too? Martha, Samuel's voice cracked. Tell me you didn't. Everything I did was for this family. Martha's hands clasped tightly in her lap. Rebecca would have ruined you, Samuel. And Catherine, a resident's salary could never have given Nathan the life he deserved. The life I deserved? Nathan turned from the window. Or the life you wanted for me. They're the same thing, darling. Martha stood, reaching for him. Everything I've done has been for you. For us. Including the wiretap? I pulled the device from my pocket. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Martha laughed, the sound brittle as breaking glass. Oh, that silly thing. Just a mother's concern. You've been acting so strange lately, dear. The pregnancy test, the secretive meetings with Clara. There is no pregnancy, I said quietly. We staged that to prove you were spying on us. Martha's smile turned razor-sharp. No baby? Well, that's disappointing. Though not surprising given your age and career focus. Don't, Nathan stepped between us. You don't get to judge her. Judge? Martha's voice rose. I'm trying to protect you, both of you. This marriage, this family. It's all I have left. Left from what? Samuel moved closer. What happened to you, Martha? What happened? She whirled on him. You want to know what happened? My mother watched my father destroy our family with his free spirit and artistic dreams. We lost everything. I swore that would never happen to my children. So instead you destroyed other families? I pressed play on my phone. Martha's voice filled the room, threatening Rebecca's younger sister's college admission unless she left town. Where did you get that? Martha's face went white. Rebecca kept everything. Clara spoke from the doorway. She's on her way here now. So is Catherine. Martha moved faster than I expected. Her hand caught my wrist, twisting until I dropped the phone. It clattered across the floor as she grabbed my shoulders. "You ungrateful little—" Nathan pulled her back, but she was already laughing again, high and desperate. "You think you've won? That exposing old secrets changes anything? I built this family. I protected it. Without me, you're nothing." "No, Mother." Nathan's voice was steady. "Without you, we're free." The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw 2 cars pulling into our driveway. Martha saw them too, her face contorted. "I won't let you destroy everything I've built." She reached into her purse, pulling out a thick envelope. "You want to talk about secrets? Let's talk about what I found in Iris's background check." My heart stopped. The adoption records I'd sealed years ago, the brother I'd lost to the foster system, the choices I'd made to survive. "Go ahead," I said, though my voice shook. "Show everyone who you really are." Martha opened the envelope, but Samuel snatched it from her hands. Without looking inside, he walked to the fireplace and threw it in. "Enough," he said quietly. "No more secrets, no more control." The doorbell rang again. Martha looked from the burning envelope to the door, then to Nathan. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. "Nathan," she whispered, "please, everything I did was for you." "No," he took my hand. "Everything you did was for yourself." I squeezed his hand as Clara opened the front door. The past was walking in, and Martha would finally face the consequences of her actions. But as I watched her sink into the chair, suddenly small and old, I realized revenge wasn't what I wanted anymore. I wanted freedom. And sometimes freedom means letting go of the power others hold over you, even when they're family. Especially when they're family. Rebecca Walsh entered first, her silver hair and straight spine a testament to the years she'd survived. Catherine followed, younger but carrying the same weight of past wounds. The room crackled with unspoken accusations as they faced Martha. "Hello, Martha." Rebecca's voice carried no tremor. "It's been 15 years. Martha's fingers dug into the armchair. "You shouldn't have come." "Because I'm dead?" Rebecca's laugh held no humor. "That's what you told everyone, isn't it? A tragic car accident before the wedding?" Catherine moved closer, her doctor's coat still on from her flight. "Did you tell them about my accident too? The stairs at the hospital that mysteriously lost their safety rail?" "I never—" Martha started. "Save it." Catherine pulled out a folder. "I kept the maintenance records, the inspection reports, everything." My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from Clara. "Pregnancy test positive. 3 weeks." The world tilted slightly. I hadn't told anyone I was late, hadn't dared hope. But now— What is that? Martha's eyes fixed on Catherine's folder. More lies? Truth. Catherine placed the documents on the coffee table. Like the truth about why I lost my baby. Stress, they said. Excessive stress from anonymous threats. Stalking. Career sabotage. Samuel picked up the papers, his hands shaking. The hospital board received anonymous complaints about Catherine's competency. That was you? I protected this family. Martha stood, her composure cracking. Rebecca would have dragged you into bankruptcy with her artist dreams. Catherine would have taken Nathan across the country, away from his legacy. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't lose another— She stopped abruptly. Another what? Nathan asked. Martha sank back into her chair. Your sister, before you were born. She chose her own path, married someone inappropriate. I never saw her again. The room went silent. Samuel's face drained of colour. Claire, he whispered, you told me she died in college. She died to us! Martha's voice rose hysterically. She chose him over family, over everything we built. I wouldn't let that happen again. I couldn't. My phone felt heavy in my pocket, new life growing inside me, while around me lay the wreckage of lives Martha had destroyed to protect her vision of family. I'm pregnant, I said quietly. Martha's head snapped up. What? Actually pregnant this time. I met her gaze. And you will never control this child's life the way you controlled Nathan's. Never. You can't. She can. Nathan moved to stand beside me. We all can. No more secrets. No more control. It ends today. Martha looked around the room, at Rebecca's straight spine, Catherine's steady hands, Samuel's grief-stricken face. Her carefully constructed world was crumbling. Claire's alive, Samuel's voice broke. All these years. I can find her, Clara offered from the doorway. I found Rebecca and Catherine. Martha lunged for her purse again, but this time I was faster. I grabbed it, dumping the contents onto the coffee table. Photos spilled out. Surveillance photos of all of us. Of Nathan and Catherine in college. Of Rebecca before she fled. Of me at doctor's appointments Martha shouldn't have known about. You see? Martha's voice turned pleading. Everything I did was for love. To protect what's mine. Love doesn't destroy, Catherine said softly. It doesn't stalk or threaten or manipulate. That's not love, Martha. That's possession. Get help, Nathan told his mother. Real help. Or you'll never meet your grandchild. Martha's face crumpled. For a moment, I saw past the monster to the frightened woman beneath, terrified of losing control, of being abandoned, of watching her family choose their own paths. I don't know how to let go, she whispered. Start by telling the truth, Samuel said. About everything. About Claire. Martha looked at me, then at my still flat stomach where her grandchild grew. The future she couldn't control. The legacy she couldn't shape. Claire, she said finally, lives in Vancouver. It wasn't redemption. It wasn't even really surrender. But as Samuel reached for his phone with trembling hands, as Nathan pulled me close, as Rebecca and Catherine exchanged looks of quiet victory, I realized it was something else. A beginning. The nursery walls remained unpainted, but I liked them that way. Clean slate, fresh start. Through the window, autumn leaves scattered across our front lawn, and somewhere in the distance a cardinal sang. No pink, Nathan said from the doorway. Or blue. Definitely not. I ran my hand over my growing belly. Though your mother sent another box of gender-specific clothes this morning. He tensed slightly, but I shook my head. It's okay. She's trying. The weekly therapy sessions were Martha's idea, surprisingly. After Claire arrived from Vancouver, all wild hair and artist's paint-stained fingers, so different from Martha's polished perfection, something in Martha finally cracked. Or maybe, finally healed. Dad called, Nathan said, moving to stand beside me. Claire's showing her work at the gallery downtown next month. Is Martha going? She asked if we'd go with her. The old Martha would have tried to prevent the show entirely. Would have found ways to sabotage Claire's moment to protect the family image. The new Martha. Well, she was learning. Like we all were. My phone buzzed. Catherine. Ultrasound looks perfect. See you next week. Having Nathan's ex as my obstetrician raised eyebrows, but it felt right. Healing comes in strange ways sometimes. Rebecca sent this. Nathan held up his phone, showing a photo of a handmade baby blanket. Says it's tradition in her family. The family she was supposed to join before your mother intervened. Yeah. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. Funny how things work out. Through the window, I watched Clara's car pull into our driveway. She'd been helping Samuel organize Claire's gallery opening, and somewhere along the way, they'd developed an unexpected friendship. The wounded helping the wounded heal. Do you ever wonder, I asked, if we did the right thing, exposing everything? As opposed to what? Revenge? I wanted to destroy her at first, to make her suffer like she made others suffer. Nathan was quiet for a moment. But that wouldn't have fixed anything. No. I touched the wall, imagining the colours we might choose. It would have just continued the cycle. Clara's voice drifted up from downstairs along with Samuel's deeper tones and Martha's. My hand instinctively went to my belly, an old protective gesture. We can ask her to leave, Nathan offered. No. I turned to face him. but we maintain our boundaries. Trust is earned, not given. Downstairs, Martha's laugh mingled with Claire's, tentative, awkward, but real. The sound of two people learning to exist in the same space without power plays or manipulation. "I found another wiretap yesterday," I said quietly. Nathan stiffened. "Where?" "In the box of baby clothes. But Martha didn't put it there." I pulled the device from my pocket. "It's government issue. Apparently my brother's adoption records weren't as sealed as I thought." His eyes widened. "You mean Clara's running traces now? We might actually find him." "Are you sure you want to? After everything with Martha?" "That's why I'm sure." I placed the wiretap on the windowsill where the sun caught it. Family secrets don't protect anyone. They just breed more secrets. Below, car doors slammed. Rebecca had arrived with more gallery plans. Soon the house would be full of voices. Claire and Samuel discussing art, Martha carefully measuring her words, Catherine dropping off ultrasound photos, Clara with her latest findings. A broken family slowly rebuilding, not perfect, not even close, but real. "We should paint the nursery green," Nathan said suddenly, "like new leaves." I smiled, understanding what he meant. New growth, new beginnings. The cardinal outside took flight, a flash of red against the pale sky. I thought of Martha, of revenge and redemption, of the fine line between protecting family and controlling it, of the child growing inside me who would never know the weight of secrets we'd carried. "Green," I agreed. "But first, let's open some windows. This room needs air." Nathan unlatched the window, letting in the autumn breeze. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply opening windows and letting the truth blow through, clearing out the shadows where secrets hide. Even if that truth comes with a cardinal's warning song.